ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Casting the Spotlight episode number 134, and it is our 5-year anniversary episode featuring my brother, the long-awaited episode, and Casting the Spotlight debut.
Of Corey. Just Corey.
So,
just Corey.
It's been a long time coming, boys.
It has.
Yeah.
He sat in idly by on episode number 5 whenever we first launched, and this is the first episode we used music. This is the first time we publicly released our episodes.
So I remember somebody gave you that idea to start doing it on Anchor. I remember who
Yeah,
that was.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that too, and then Anchor sold their shit to whoever that was.
I didn't even know that, but you know how I heard about Anchor?
Who's that?
Gary fucking V. Gary 5.
Gary 5.
As appropriate for this 5-year anniversary.
Yeah.
It is. We're actually, so not only is Corey the 5-year anniversary guest, but he is the 50th person ever on the podcast.
Wow.
And we are shooting on the exact day we started recording what was then just a podcast. In episode 3, we got the name, but the very first episode we ever shot, part of the legacy of Casting Spotlight, was shot on June 10th, 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, episode 5 was like the first promotion of any of it. That was like when the page launched and everybody kind of started to get acquainted with what it actually was. Before that, it was just like dropping episodes on, Anchor at the time.
Yeah, I think we kind of dropped 3 and 4, and then we're like, but we didn't really promote them, and then we're 5, we were like, well, let's tell everybody that we actually have a podcast, and let's make it a big
Probably a good idea. The first couple, you're kind of, it's still a little rough.
We wanted to make sure we could fill an hour, but by the 5th one that Corey was there for, it was I think we did an hour 30 something, hour 37 maybe, hour. It was a decent length longer, but we didn't even realize that we could add multiple parts to an episode. We thought we had to do it within an hour time frame.
Yeah.
Just all one shot.
Yeah, basically. So it is, but it is a big occasion, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the first time my brother is on the podcast.
Officially.
So officially, yeah. So yeah,
I'm
5 was.
5 is what?
5 was your lucky number coming in. I was gonna say.
I guess it is.
In multiples of 5, 10, the 50th episode or 50th guest, I should say.
Yeah.
So.
5th anniversary, yeah. Episode 5.
5 years flew the fuck by really quick, huh?
Yeah. We were talking about that on the way over here, though. 7 or 8 years ago feels like.
That's probably when I
a
first
few
met
years.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably shit.
That
was almost 10 years.
It was late 2015.
15,
probably.
yeah, because when we took that trip to Florida, before he even moved down there, me and you barely hung out at all at that point, and you're just like, all right, fuck it, I'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was we're going there anyways. I know Tyler.
Yeah.
I know Tim.
I drive almost the entire way, and it's just I got Elijah back in the back seat. I barely know him. I'm just driving the whole night. Do you remember that traffic through Atlanta?
Oh yeah.
That fucking traffic through Atlanta?
Oh
It's
yeah.
nuts.
The Peach State prick.
Oh.
He's like.
That was the closest.
That looked bad. You had a Missouri license. You were driving a North Carolina car. We were hauling ass in Georgia to Florida.
We had to search for the registration because it wasn't your car.
I borrowed Nathan's car for the trip because my car would have not made it there at all. But his car was pretty new and still paid off. And I'm like, bro, can I borrow? I was I asked him the night before, dude, can I borrow your car? He's like, yeah, just give me $50 and a gram or an eighth of weed, and I'm like, done, fucking done.
I'm pretty sure you're I'm pretty sure I asked you about it.
And I got him an oil change, so hell of a deal.
I'm pretty sure I asked you about it, and you're like, yeah, man. You're like, I can't drive my car there. It's never gonna fucking last.
Even if it did last, I had a shitty sound system, and you can't go on a road trip without the tunes, bro. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, that was a hell of an introduction though, because we had to like everybody kind of had to get more acquainted.
Me and you, I feel like have only been around each other like a time or two at that point.
Yeah, and I mean I knew Cheatham, but I only like hung out with him a handful of times through Tim at that point too. So it was kind of just like, fuck it, we're taking a road trip. Everybody's gonna have to kind of get acquainted throughout this experience.
And even we had like hung out like earlier that year through the whole summer into fall.
Yeah.
But like that was the main of it, and then
we had hung out like super long.
You had came to so like for 6 months or so, and you had came to an MWF show like a year or two before that, and like a few occasions like that bus ride that we referred to.
Yeah. You were at Tyler's a lot like that summer.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of wild to think about how things just transitioned. And like little moments that you didn't think meant that much, like ended up being a crucial part of the story. You know?
That's probably exciting as fuck though for Tyler. Like he was just like, fuck yeah, dude, I got all these guys.
But that was the first time I ever met Stevens. I had never met him before we went down there.
Yeah, you're like, I'll fucking go. We were like, should we go to one of these? Like one of the wrestling shows down there is one of the main inspirations for going. Because me and Elijah were just going to go, and we're like, what are we going to do? We're going to fly? And you're like, no, I'll go. And then Cheatham, I feel like we talk about it like this, but Cheatham was really the last addition to the
Cheatham's always the last addition. Like, Cheatham, we got an extra spot. You want to go?
And,
fuck yeah.
Towards
he
the
was
end,
just like, he didn't care about the wrestling show, but he was like, a trip to Florida, fuck it.
And he's like, I can go, I can take the time off. And like towards the end of that trip, Corey just had enough because
that dime fucked me, bro. That dime fucked me.
He had
an experience.
How is that in any world a good idea?
I'm not talking about a dime like a really.
Well, no, I feel like it could have worked, dude. Corey, I feel like it was a little bit on Corey, man.
It was for sure on me.
If we're actually thinking about it now, you didn't chew the gum very long. You got overzealous. You chewed it like 7 times trying to stick it down there.
Nobody knows what the hell we're talking about now. So like, one of you guys got to explain this story.
Right into the story. You know what's insane about this story? It feels like it was like 6 months ago, a year ago. This story was November 2015.
Oh yeah,
that was right before I first moved up to the city.
Yeah,
that's when we still lived in Arnold, and we were trying to figure out like what are we gonna do? We're gonna stay here. We all want to move to the city. And so that was like kind of me like clearing my head. Like
you
trying to
really
clear my head.
like I don't ever even talk about this much because it's a subject that I don't think about much in my life now, and it's not something I like to get into because I don't like to justify myself. But like. That was also the era where I was almost in the military.
Oh, shit.
Was during that time.
I forgot about that.
It's wild to think that was that long ago now.
Yeah, you were almost going to join the Navy. You have never talked about that on the podcast.
No, I never really dove in. I don't think about it often because it feels like a lifetime ago now. But when I think about the things happening during that time, it doesn't feel that long ago.
So what, I mean, like, obviously, like, you wanted... How long before you were theoretically going to join did you decide you wanted to join?
Not super long. It was like the end of high school, senior year, and I was really feeling the pressure of life.
You're like, I don't want to fucking go to college.
Dude, what
I got
the fuck am I gonna do?
That won't leave me alone. Like, I probably should just do it.
Yeah, I literally was getting texts from like the Navy and the National Guard because I had kind of I had asked about it. From both of them, because I was like, I didn't really know what the fuck I wanted to do. So like, at that point in time, I didn't know what I wanted with my life at all. I still don't. If we're being completely honest, I'm 27. I still don't feel like I absolutely know what I want to do with myself. I'm like,
most people don't.
I'm enjoying the podcast, my blog, things like that. I wish I could do that, but like, that's not theoretically an option at this moment, and I don't really know. So at 18, I really didn't fucking know it.
Nobody does, and we're all led to believe like you should know, like you should have it all figured out by now. You should have a plan. No, none of us have a fucking plan.
No, I mean a few people do,
and most of them don't fucking work out to those.
Yeah,
plans.
there's
a lot of people go to college and switch degrees.
Yeah, there's a number of people I know that like they thought they had exactly figured out, and then they realized either they couldn't get a job in the field they wanted, or they switched their degree. You know, even a year, 2, 3. Through it, and everything was turned completely upside down.
That didn't work out the way all of our teachers said it was going to work out. Oh,
that's wild. Like like my girlfriend, for example, like she's going to be a nurse. Like that's something that you for sure can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get a job.
Those positions are always going to need to be filled.
You're gonna get paid bank.
Yeah.
And it takes a driven individual though to want to do that and to like devote yourself to something like that. Like just caring for others. That's your life. You know.
That's
like,
not just something.
I commend her for that, but like that's never been my goal in life. Like I want to like I want to incorporate my interests into making money.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's at the end of the day, that's always been the goal. So even at that stage in life, that was the goal. I'm like, I don't feel like I probably at 18, I was thinking, I don't feel like I can personally be a wrestler, but I'd like to make money within wrestling.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually know how that was even a possibility.
Well, it's really not a possibility. It's really not.
So I was just like, I don't know.
Possibility.
Like I had no clue about trying to even dip my toes in. Like try to work the camera, try to announce, try to fucking clean up the ring, try to get in there any way you could to, you know, start doing something so you could eventually. I didn't know any. I was just thinking like, dude, it's impossible. Like I don't know how the fuck they just discover these guys.
It's basically,
you know what I mean?
basically impossible.
That's how it is. It's this guy looks big as fuck. Sometimes that's the case though. There's guys like, you know, Goldberg, Batista, where they're like, hey, you know, you look like you could fucking wrestle.
Right.
And then other times
that's Vince McMahon's whole thing.
Like you also got the Daniel Bryans and shit that like that was their dream, and they just dug and worked their ass off for 18 years.
And before Triple H, nobody Daniel Bryan's size would have got to that level.
No.
Ever.
Vince was like, you got to be tan and 300 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, no, being tan isn't the hard part. Being 6'8" and 325, that's hard.
If you were a 5'8", fucking, you know, 135-pound kid, there was no shot in hell.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio is the exception to the rule.
But Ray was his own thing too.
Yeah.
You know, he was a luchador. He was just tiny all around. He was short, and he wasn't like he just had. And he was the first to really introduce that style to the American audience like that. You know, so he kind of was able.
Vince
to
gave the
that.
Cruiserweights a shot for a couple of years on SmackDown.
He didn't at first though. That was like WCW. That
it
originally
was.
Well,
Like,
and it wasn't until he bought them.
And before WCW had a cruiserweight division, it was Paul Heyman that looked at AAA and like looked at all the luchadors and everything else and like brought some of them in. He didn't necessarily per se have a division, but he did bring in Psychosis, Rey Mysterio, and like people like that.
Well, he also knew that they were the third brand in the U.S. Like he needed to bring those guys in to stand out from everybody else.
Yeah,
and I mean, you know, and he'll say to this day that Eric Bischoff like raided, you know, the roster and shit like that. But like Eric Bischoff did create a cruiserweight division. Like Paul Heyman
brought in a lot of like Mexican and Japanese.
Paul Heyman brought in the names, like a few of the names, but then Eric Bischoff created an entire division.
Which got all the ratings. All the names got the ratings. When you go back and watch old WCW, it's like all the cruiserweight matches are so good, and every main event is just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Hey,
what was that?
If you look,
what was that?
If you look back,
those were the names that people tuned in for. You know,
if you look back and even watch Psychosis and Rey Mysterio and ECW, they were having fucking bangers of matches. And Ray was young, man. He was young.
Was he debuted in WCW like 16 or some maybe not in WCW.
I'm not sure what his age.
No, I think he debuted at like 13 or 14.
They were like hurricane running each other off of like cars and shit like that, and like Paul Heyman didn't give a fuck because his father was a lawyer, so they just did whatever they wanted to.
I remember there's one interview with like Bubba Ray Dudley or something where he's just like, I would listen to Paul Heyman just completely bullshit people and just blatantly lie to them about their pay or anything, and he would just go through it completely knowing he was lying and just he just had no remorse whatsoever about it. Like yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
Well, he thought, you know, we can turn this ship around. We're gonna be able to get these guys this money. It's like.
Yeah. And then the gate was
when
a
are you
little
going to
short.
start making that money, dude?
Yeah.
I heard like Bubba Ray and Eric actually get into that. Like they started kind of arguing about that when he had him on as a guest a while back.
Yeah.
Where he was like, ECW started the cruiserweight division, and Eric's like, how? He's like, you can't start a division with 4 or 5
Yeah,
guys.
you might have had the first couple cruiserweights, but I made the fucking division.
No, and that's true. And like the other thing was they broadcast them on a global large scale. And like ECW didn't have the reach to be able to do that.
WCW used to work a lot with Japan during that time.
And ECW actually did create the division, but Paul Heyman brought them, I feel like, to American promotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, it wasn't 5 per se years ago, but it was more closer to 6 years ago that you made your professional debut. It would have been a few months from now, right? Because it was like shortly after I first moved back to St. Louis. It was 2018.
November of 2018, I believe. I started training in May and debuted within like 5.5, 6 months. Yeah.
Did you
Crazy.
feel out of place when you first debuted?
Kinda.
Like,
I
green
kinda.
and just...
No, I kind of felt like I kind of felt out of place the entire time I was wrestling, which is weird because I felt like being a wrestler is like the wrestlers are outcasts to begin with. So it's like I felt like an outcast among the outcasts when I was wrestling, and also just might be like a rookie thing, like you know, it used to be a lot worse back in the day, like coming up in the business, but.
Yeah, I'm sure once you're more established.
It's easier now for sure. You know, because there's not as much like protection for kayfabe and all that. But it's still so fucking hard. Like, it's so like you gotta. It's just exhausting, man. And it's crazy. Like we were just talking about like making money in wrestling or just making enough to get by in wrestling, and it's like, man, you're not even doing that. You're sacrificing money. Like every weekend I took off, you know, my regular job, my fake job, as I used to like to call it, which I stole from KLD. I mean, I had no days off for 2 years. I had 2 days off from my job where I actually made money, and then then those 2 days off I spent training. You know, so I had no days off. And then I would take off every couple weekends or every other weekend or, you know, any weekend that I could afford to take off and get booked for a show. And, you know, I fucking drove to Delaware one time and back for $30. Now, Chris Masters and Jimmy Hart were on that show, and I met a lot of good people and, like, connections to the business that way, but, like, it takes a long time to make money in wrestling. It really does. And
that's that entertainment lifestyle. I feel like is even listening to like comedians on podcasts, you know, and listening to wrestlers. Like you just travel and work the circuit and go all over and lose money.
You gotta eat. You're eating shit for a long time, unless you're like the Great Khali or somebody Vince McMahon found in a movie, or like you've met another wrestler and you're an ex-football player or ex-collegiate wrestler. Like you're gonna be grinding for 5-10 years minimum before you start seeing any real money in wrestling. And it's just, you know, I've always loved wrestling. I will always love wrestling. But whenever I got into it, I'm like, you know, this is like my last shot. Like, I started when I was 25, which is pretty young, but pretty late for most people that like succeed in wrestling. I mean, you start young as shit. And I always wanted to be a wrestler, but it was never like. I had a few years in high school where like I quit playing baseball. I wasn't good at that anymore, and I just didn't really love it anymore. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna start training for wrestling. You know, my goal was always to be a wrestler. Like after I realized, you know, I don't really love baseball as much as I thought I did, and I'm not nearly as good at baseball anymore as I thought I was. It was like, all right, I'm gonna quit baseball. I'm gonna start lifting. I'm gonna start training for wrestling. I'm gonna join this wrestling school right out of high school, and I'm gonna be a wrestler. And that was like really my only 2 dreams ever were playing baseball in the MLB and being a wrestler. And I had given up on my wrestling dreams like right out of high school. Like I got distracted with all those other things you do when you're that young, and just you start working,
girls,
you start driving. Oh yeah, that was what I was leading into. You start driving, you start getting freedom. Like, oh, I'm just gonna fuck off and party and try to meet girls, and that's all I care about right now. And that's what it was for a few years. So I realized, okay, well, this was a waste of time, and now I'm 25 and I have done nothing, and it feels like I'm settling right now. Maybe it's time to chase my long lost dream. And I did. And so, like, for that reason, I will never. I knew it was a questionable decision when I started. Everybody's like, "You're insane. Like, you don't, you know, this is very this is a very difficult thing. You're like, you're still young, but you're still 25. Like, you're kind of older for most people that like actually make a living out of this." And it was like, well, if I don't do it now, I'm gonna regret it. Like, if I live my life and never tried my dream, then I would always live with regret. But there came a point where I was just like, this is all I've ever wanted to do. Like, I gotta try it. You know, it was almost like a. This is not the way I planned on like picking up this topic, but this is a good place where I felt like we should start. It was just like whenever I realized I almost had like a quarter life crisis when I turned 25, and which is what I call it now. Back then, I called it what some people would refer to as a spiritual awakening, or a I don't know, an epiphany of sorts. When like right around the time I turned 25, where it was just like, what are you doing? You're settling right now. Like, you're not like, your life's okay, but you're not happy. Like what do you do? Like, are you just gonna settle the rest of your life? You're gonna chase your long lost dream? And I had like I said back then, it was kind of like a spiritual awakening for me, and it's like it goes way deeper than wrestling, obviously, which we may or may not get into later. But at that time, it was like, like at that time is what I call it was a spiritual awakening. But now I look back at like that was almost kind of like a quarter life crisis. Like, and I feel like that's almost a thing now. Like, you get 25 and you're like we were just talking about earlier, like you were in high school and everybody's telling you like you need this plan, like go to college. If you don't go to college, you're gonna be a failure. And it was like that point where I was like, all right, well, college didn't work out for me. I'm like working a job, like I'm getting by, like I'm doing fine. It's like, what am I living for? Nothing. Like, what do I've always wanted to do? Wrestle. I'm 25. Like, this is your last chance to go out there and try to fucking do it. And so I did, and I don't regret it because it was a good life experience. It was, you know, I can always say like I've been in the wrestling business. Like it's funny. Like I'll put on wrestling at the bar, and like I'll be like I've been in the locker room with that guy. Like I drove that guy to the airport. Like that guy slept in my car. And it's like, shit, man. Like, if nothing else, I have all that experience where it's like, man, I was like I was decent. Like, I was pretty good. Like, whenever I got in there, everybody was impressed with me right away, and I could tell. And I was like, I always knew I was going to be good, but like, fuck. And then everybody started talking me up, like, you're going to be good. And I started getting a big head, like, oh, this is going to be easy. Everybody knows I'm good. And oh, it's not that easy. You gotta, people are going to tell you you're good. And like Gary Vee says, like, you can't believe that bad shit, and you can't believe that good shit. You gotta stay humble. You gotta stay hungry. And there came a point where like everybody was telling me like, you're good. You're gonna be a big deal. And I started to believe it. And then it's just so fucking hard, man. It's, especially because you're not making any money and you're like literally sacrificing money to work these wrestling shows and travel, and you know all you pay for like your first few years in the business. Like, you're not coming out ahead ever. The only chance you have of that is if you're like lucky enough to train under somebody that like gets that money whenever they wrestle, like Elgin. Like I would travel with him, and he would get paid, but then he would pay for gas and everything. So it's like that. Okay, we weren't really taking a hit. Like maybe I took a night off work, but I'm not really taking that big of a hit. Like I'm not paying any gas money. I'm not. I don't know, man. It's just a lot. Like the traveling's exhausting. We can agree on that, right? Like. But like I was in the car like that, and that was also what I did at the time. Like I delivered pizzas for 5 years, and it's like you spend over 40 hours a week delivering pizzas, and then on your off days you spend anywhere from 2 to 10 hours a day in the car on weekends when you're traveling wrestling shows. Man, that shit is exhausting. You barely slept, and then if you slept in the car, you got just a little bit of car sleep, and then you get to the show, and you're supposed to be like, all right, nice to meet you to everybody, and you're supposed to be like. You know, very personal with everybody, but you just traveled all day, you barely slept last night, like, you're broke as shit, you fucking barely ate, you're just, like, trying to, like, present yourself in a good way, and it's just, there's just so much happening, and there's just so many people at these shows, and they're hectic, like, the anxiety of traveling, and, like, oh, I'm about to go wrestle somebody I've never met before, and we have to talk about the match, and, like, I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing, this guy's really good, there's just a lot of anxiety with it. It's just like I would tell people, like, wrestling really helped and hurt my mental health at the same time.
it's just so draining. Like, it was just so draining. I'm so glad I did it. And I would love, like, I've played this back in my head over the last few years. Like, do you know, are you gonna come back? Are you gonna have another match or anything? And it's like, parts of me do want to, but I don't think I can ever commit to that level again, like that I did. So I was like, I have nothing else. Like, wrestling, I'm just gonna go for this. I'm 25. I have nothing left to lose. Like, I just left my girlfriend of 7.5 years, 6-7 years. I had nothing else but wrestling right now. Like, I just threw myself into it. Like I said, quarter life crisis is what I call it now. Back then I didn't call it that, but now I see it like that was kind of like a quarter life crisis. Like, you had nothing else to live for. Like, you were just like, you know, you're just panicking because you're 25 and you don't have really anything going for you, and you're just like, I guess I gotta chase my long lost dream, which is what I tried to do. And I don't regret it, but it's a lot, man. It's a lot. Props to everybody still out there grinding and doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I loved wrestling, and I still think I do love wrestling, but man, you have to fucking love wrestling to do that shit and to try to become. Like, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe that shit.
It does give you a different perspective, like, once, like, whenever I trained for, like, you know, obviously a few months and everything like that, it does give you a different outlook on, like, the whole thing than being a fan, where, like, how you are before you enter it and start getting physically involved in it, because it, like, alters your perception of the way you envision wrestling, the way matches are worked, the way everything is done. Like, you're like, wow, like, it puts things into perspective in a way that, like, if you didn't actually get in the ring and get involved, it kind of it gives you insight you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah. If you thought you respected it before, you for damn sure respect it after you get in that ring and take bumps for 4 hours.
It took me, like, even though, I mean, obviously a lot of stuff happened, and, like, I didn't get back in after, like, training to a certain amount of time, and there's a few reasons for that. Part of it's on me, part of it's on the situation that happened, too. But
again, you gave it a shot, just like I did.
Yeah. But
and I think if we never gave it a shot, we'd be sitting here right now, like,
for sure.
We're 4 years older now, but let's go back and try to wrestle.
And I did whenever I think I was 22. So, I mean, it wasn't too bad, and there was definitely still a shot, but I was not working on my body, I feel like, the way I needed to also, but not to get into that. But the, you know, like, there was just, it did something to your, am I wrong? Like, it did something to your fandom. Like, it kind of, it set you in kind of,
well, yeah, because you stepped outside of just being a fan.
You stepped. It, like, there was, and I talked to Stevens about this too, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, yeah, it did change things for sure, like, to a degree, like, you know, with the way you perceived it and how, you know, what you watched on TV and everything else.
Well, especially these days, like, fans are so, that's the big conflict between, like, wrestlers and people actually in the business and fans that are, like, just hardcore fans, and they're great. Like, it's great that they follow the business to that degree and shit, but
it's way different.
Like, they, you know, you hear them talk, like, the wrestling, I mean, any, like, super, like, niche thing like that is, like, has a super toxic fan base, I feel like.
Yeah.
And every it's just, like, a big thing.
Fucking
like,
fandom is toxic.
Every fan just like, oh, I think, like, I've heard, like, I know wrestling's not real now. Like, I think I know the ins and outs of it. And, like, I saw this match, oh, this girl botch, and this guy, you know, he didn't sell good enough there. And it's like,
you're not selling.
But the difference is you're seeing it from, like, a two-dimensional perspective rather than you're seeing it on a flat screen on, like, what you think should happen and shouldn't happen. You're not seeing it as in it's 3D and you're part of it.
Yeah.
That's the difference between training and not training, like, and watching it.
And that's where I was, like, in high school. I'm like, people would be like, oh, you're a wrestling fan? I'd be like, no, I'm not a wrestling fan. Like, I'm a, what do they call them, smart mark? I'd be like, oh, no, I know how the business works. Like, I know how it really, I didn't have any fucking idea, but, like, that's how fans are. Like, oh, now I read the dirt sheets and I read the leaks and, like, now I think I know how the business works. And it's just like, take some bumps, do a match. You think you're good? You think it's easy?
I think, yeah.
It's not.
Fucking around in the backyard with what we all did.
It was a great time. It was fun. And that's literally the reason that I ever even chased my dream. Because, like, I've been in and out of wrestling my whole life. Like, we both have. Because it was like, we grew up on it. Mom and Dad got divorced. Obviously, Mom wasn't a fan. It's like, oh, mom's not gonna let us watch wrestling anymore because it's gonna ruin us all when we become adults. And I laugh at that now, because it's just like, it definitely had an effect on us. Like, you can tell who grew up in the Attitude Era and who didn't.
Everybody thought it was like,
But it was
phased
also like,
too.
people, they just thought we were just gonna grow up to be like huge bricks, and like some people did.
My
for
parents
sure.
thought that too.
But
Whenever
it's
I
like-
watched wrestling, they're like, it's just another one of his things. Like, he's gonna grow out of this.
Yeah.
He's gonna move on to something else. And I just
I-
watched
yeah.
it for fucking 20
And I did,
years.
and I did grow out of it. Like, I grew out of it a couple times, and I always came back to it. And it was like a lot of like the heat spots in my life, like the dark times in my life. I always went back to wrestling, and that like
It was
just
always
made
there.
everything okay again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
I
always
don't- I don't-
going.
I don't even know if I
Never
would
ends.
say. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't know if I would even say you grew out of it, but you probably drifted away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I've had periods in my life like that too, where I wasn't keeping up as much. But like, even when
Well,
I'm not
dude.
keeping up, I know the big names. I kind of, sort of know who's champ
And
and
that's
what's
all it
going
takes
on,
is
even if
for,
it's just vicinity.
That's all it takes is for like The Rock to come back for WrestleMania with Roman. And you're like, oh, I was fucking so into that shit for those few months, and now it's like I'm trying to keep up a little bit, but
Mhm.
I still enjoy it,
Yeah.
but I do understand that, like, especially if
the nostalgia factor is
Yeah.
real for me as far as being a fan of wrestling. Like I said, I love wrestling. I always loved wrestling, but it wasn't until I became a wrestler I'm like, shit, I thought I loved this shit. I don't love this nearly as much as all these guys do. Like, they're watching tape, like they're grinding all day, like training, traveling. They're gonna go home and watch tape. Like, I don't think I love it that. Like, I love it. Like, it's always gonna be a thing for me, but I don't think I love it that much. Like,
yeah,
I don't think I can like.
just
It's really
yeah,
got to be
eat,
your. If
sleep,
you're trying to make
breathe, and
any
dream
money in it
about
whatsoever,
it.
it's gonna be your whole fucking life, man. You have
Yeah.
very little time for anything else whatsoever, and that just goes for
to
everything.
make it in anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just goes for everything. You're trying to be like, the top 1% of the population.
if you're a professional,
yeah,
hockey player, you eat, sleep, and breathe hockey. That's all you're working on, all you're thinking about, all you're doing.
yeah.
Every one of those things comes with sacrifice. Like, you're giving up some part of your life that you could have for that thing, for sure.
That's where it's kind of wild to me to think, like, we can sit here as fans, as I do with the things I love, like wrestling, I guess horror's not really the same way, but like football definitely is, and sit there and
At least there's an off season in football, though.
You can be
Like, we
any
can-
other sport, yeah. But you're like, you can sit there and critique it and be like, oh, look at this, that was a fucking stupid move. Why the fuck did he try to throw into the
Yeah,
triple coverage?
And
What the
when
fuck's wrong with it? But it's like,
you gotta
you're
go out
not
of that
there
perspective,
doing it,
like-
You didn't.
And that used to be
give
me.
your
Like, I was
life
the little
up.
asshole. Like, Tony La Russa, why would you not pinch hit right there? Yeah.
Coaching from the couch.
Vince
It's like,
McMahon,
what
why?
the fuck was that?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It's so fun. Like, it's actually really funny. Like, because I used to be that guy, like, when I was younger. Like,
It's
so,
fun to do it,
and,
though.
like,
It makes it
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, it does. It does. For sure.
Because then you
But
get it,
it's like,
because it
how-
is a way to think, like, not that you're at all in that place or you're in a spot where you could even be near that place, but, like, you put yourself in those shoes for a second, and in your mind, you're like, if I was the fucking manager right now, I'd be doing this shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe
Yeah.
they're not.
It's easy to say when you're not in the box taking a 97-mile-an-hour fastball or
Yeah.
scrambling away from a defensive end that's twice your size trying to tackle you, or
Yeah, I even say, like, on here before, like, it's easy to say whenever people critique, their favorite team loses a game in, like, the NFL or whatever, or like the Browns or like the Eagles or somebody, like, loses a game. Oh, that was bullshit. That was a bullshit call. I could have done a better job. Yeah, you eating fucking potato chips on the goddamn couch.
armchair
You
quarterbacks.
you could have done a better job. That's why they hired you and not one of the best refs in the fucking world that they could have hired. What the fuck are you talking
These
about?
refs are paid off. I don't give a fuck, dude.
It's always, but that's the thing. It's always
There's
the ref's fault.
every
It's
time.
always this
Oh,
fault.
yeah.
It's like, no, And I remember posting this one time, and like I just probably thought it was funny, so I was like, I'm just gonna piss some people off like this,
Exactly what I would do.
which I've done before.
Exactly
Obviously,
what I
we
did
all
last
know
night.
that.
It's in your guys' DNA.
But it's true. Like literally, it's like literally. Okay, the refs didn't make the wrong call. Maybe your team just lost.
Maybe most of the time.
You know what I mean? They fucking lost. It's
But
not
there's
always
usually,
the referee's
it's-
fault.
I will be honest though, there are times
There's definitely a lot of bad
obviously
calls.
where the ref is going to fuck
I'm not
something up.
okay, but to
they're
say
not
that's
going
the
to-
excuse
But the
every
people-
single time,
Yeah, it's not.
that's fucking ridiculous.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, the refs make bad calls, but it's like the people that bitch about the refs. It's every week. It's not just like every once in a while thing. It's like every week when your team doesn't win, you blame the refs.
Or there's
It's like, yeah,
there's
you might have a
one
point.
game.
You might have a point this time, but like the last 3 times, you were wrong. So like, yeah, see, I don't know what to tell you.
It's
man.
like I don't know. Maybe your team just failed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's like people are really getting into like the whole sports are rigged thing. And it's like I believe in some capacity, like maybe
Yeah, everybody thinks everything's wrestling now.
and I've always said that like everything's a work to some capacity. It kind of is.
It's and guess what?
But-
Everything is more interesting with a storyline
It is.
attached to
There
it.
has to be a story to tell.
Yeah.
But it's like people think the NFL like rigged that whole there's a whole script. Like no, there's not a whole script. There's not. There can't
Because,
be.
yeah, I mean,
Like-
what would be the story to tell with the fact that the Chiefs and the 49ers, the two teams that everybody probably
Like,
picked as the front
the
runners,
best 2 teams
the
for the last
best teams
3 or 4
in the
years.
NFL, made it to the fucking Super Bowl. No, that just happened
I mean that
because they're the best teams.
that ending play was a little like holy shit. That was almost so good. It might have been scripted, but like. I believe at some capacity, like, yeah, some refs or some players are probably getting talked to, like, throw the game, like, do this here for this amount of money.
They
But the
get
people that
asked.
believe this entire season is scripted out from, like, a WWE standpoint, like, do you know how fucking hard professional sports are? Like, do you realize how hard
Yeah.
it is? Like, do you think you could just catch a fucking, like, there's just so many moving parts.
It'd be so hard
do
to
you-
script. Honestly,
Football,
to
like-
script and make it believable.
Honestly,
a football or
football-
a baseball game.
Oh,
would be
baseball would
wild.
baseball would even be harder to script.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, that's what I was gonna say. I think
Because
baseball.
you have to be able to
I
hit
think-
that 97
yeah,
mile
I
an
think
hour pitch.
baseball would be the hardest one to
Because you
script.
could be the best hitter in the world, but if you're just like a fucking third of a second late on a pitch, like it goes
Yeah.
from a home run to a pop out to the catcher.
Yeah.
Baseball would
Like-
be the hardest one to script, in my opinion.
For
Yeah,
sure.
it almost seems impossible.
And I'm not saying it is.
Football would be though.
Football,
Because
honestly-
what
No,
if you
I'm not
accidentally
saying-
drop the shit?
No, I'm not saying it is.
Like-
I'm not saying it is.
Football
but-
would be one of the easier ones to script.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it is by any means, but there are certain things you could do in football
It'd be easy
to
as
make
fuck to script hockey and soccer.
Yeah, because
But-
you have that's the only like 2 sports where there's literally a goalie, like a
Yeah,
goaltender.
people can just
You can
act,
easily-
Well,
act
and-
like they missed some shit.
and
I mean,
the-
I guess football's sort of similar though, because
Well,
you have end zones.
and the thing is, but the thing is, in like basketball, it might be a little tough to some extent too, in the sense that it either goes in the basket or it doesn't.
yeah, you
there's
gotta
not
train
there's
that
not
free.
there's not incremental scoring in a sense like there is in the NFL, where like you can get so many yards
Yeah.
and like go down the field.
Well, like there's no
and
you can
everything
take a
else.
shot. Even the best shooter could take a shot from only a few feet out and still fucking.
Oh
miss it
yeah,
in
that's
basketball.
what I mean.
At least in football, if you're trying to script it, you could
You
be like, all
you
right,
could
well, we're
script
gonna
it.
draw this play up for Travis Kelce, and then we're gonna like obviously if we scripted it, Travis
Oh,
Kelce
I
would
missed
know.
the tackle.
Yeah,
Just
the defenders,
slide
the
off him.
defenders would obviously be told like.
There are times I do think that I'm like, what the fuck? When
And
they
again-
show the replay,
and again,
you're like,
I think-
that should have been a how the fuck do you just grab him by the chest and slide all the way to his ankles? What the fuck, man?
Again, like there are parts of it. There are parts of it where I can totally believe where somebody was paid off, or a ref was paid off, or somebody got paid off to fuck something up, or not throw a shitty pass on purpose. But overall, as an entire league, as a 54-man roster and 32 teams, you're gonna tell me that this whole fucking thing is scripted, and you have shut up all these hundreds of players,
The mob.
and nobody's
just knows the league.
gonna leak any of this information out?
No
Bullshit.
way.
Like,
Yeah.
if there might be a play or a call where it's like, okay, maybe
Antonio
that ref,
Brown would have done it.
maybe
by
that
now.
ref or that player was paid
Whoa,
off.
dude, I'm surprised he hasn't just to say it. To be like,
Yeah,
NFL's rigged.
That's honestly one of the reasons I'm happy the Battlehawks lost yesterday is because the championship was booked in St. Louis, right? Which obviously we have the best attendance.
Yeah.
But after they lost, I'm just like, well, at least people can't say it was rigged for St. Louis because if they would have won, every other fan base would be like, oh, it was rigged for St. Louis, the best attendance team.
Which, makes sense that we're the best attendance team because we never should have got the Rams stolen from us.
Mhm.
But
People will come up with any fucking excuse.
And naturally, as the contrarian and savage that I am, I wore my Rams hat today. And also,
Yeah.
And we've had a few Rams fans in here
You know,
over the last
yeah.
like 6 episodes.
I've heard.
I don't blame the team, but I will say my fandom dwindled. The longer they were away, it was just kind of like, I always like these other teams anyways, and like I had the affiliation to the Rams because they were our team, and I went to their games a few times, and like I saw them live, and I participated in some of the worst fucking seasons in Rams history.
So did we all.
So it's like I had that tie to them. But then when they left and they got good, and I was like, well, Stan wanted to leave.
Well, all the owners wanted to leave because
They were like, fuck St. Louis. We're going to give them a budget that we know they're not going to accept.
Right.
Some outlandish plan so we can move to fucking LA. And then they started doing good because they fixed up the team. I almost was just like, well, fuck you guys now. I don't give a fuck how you do. I don't care about the team. You could win or lose. It's more than just I don't not like you guys. I don't give a fuck how you guys do.
That wasn't a players issue though.
No, it wasn't.
That was an owner's.
But the
issue.
owners
All
are
the
the
owners-
people that make the revenue off the team. So fuck them. I don't give a fuck.
The Rams are the third most valuable The Rams are the third most valuable franchise in the NFL right now. I just actually looked this up, didn't look it up earlier. I was looking through my old pictures to see what I could find just to bring up tonight. One of my screenshots I had was like the top 10 most valuable franchises in the NFL. It's probably a screenshot I took like a year or two ago, but the Rams were like number 3. And
That was after a Super Bowl win, though.
Yeah,
So
but still,
They
all the
dwindled.
owners. All the owners wanted them to move to LA because they're all gonna make more fucking money from it.
yeah.
All the.
But that's the
was I
thing.
pissed? I went to the last Rams game, the very last Rams game. We beat the Bucks. Me and Cheatham went. We beat the Bucks, and there was they made it seem like there was gonna be a whole riot over people begging the Rams to stay in St. Louis, and there was a whole 1 or 2 sections at the end of the game that stayed in their spot down lower on the field fuck you Kroenke, stay in St. Ous. And it was there's.
You had that F. Kroenke shirt.
I did. Like I said, I was mad at first. Initially, I get it. I was I put in a shop to NFL.com, and what's funny is back then, I was just randomly all right, the Rams are leaving. Who do I cheer for now? And I actually bought a Buffalo Bills jersey back then.
I remember.
That I put C Easy on the back of whenever I was when that was one of my aliases back in the day. And I remember even Elijah specifically telling me one day, I don't know when, but I had wore the Bills shirt, and he was he said basically oh, that wearing a Bills shirt, it's a bold move or some shit, and I don't even remember why, what inspired me to try to root for the Bills for a season. Tyrod Taylor was their quarterback. Couldn't tell you anybody else on their fucking team at the time. But I remember I'm gonna buy that shirt, put my nickname on the back of it. But I also bought that Rams shirt right after they agreed to leave. And I was kind of pissed at first too. I was I'm gonna buy a Rams shirt and I'm gonna customize the name on the back and just gonna say F. Kroenke. And then I put the number 16 on it because that was our last year in St. Louis. It's F. Kroenke 16. I remember being mad for a while about it. I remember Smirk being super pissed off for a while about it. He was pissed off to the point where he's I'm not just done with the Rams, I'm done with the whole NFL. And I'm just thinking I'm not gonna go that far. I'm still watching the NFL. I can't not play fantasy. What the hell is my life gonna be like in the fall if I don't play fantasy football?
Yeah.
So I'm so I buy this shirt, but then after probably not even a year, I'm all right, I'm over it. The Rams are great while they were here. I mean, when we first came here, we obviously did great.
It was fun. We were the greatest show on turf. We had what 10 losing seasons in St. Louis, in which
After once it got handed to Bolger away from
what
the
a
border,
waste!
it was just
What
kind
a
of like,
waste of Steven Jackson.
yeah, dude.
That
Steven
dude,
Jackson was fire.
He was like
and
Derrick
just-
Henry before Derrick Henry.
Dude, my dad, I will never forget my dad, like, would find any excuse to bitch about Steven Jackson of all people. And, like,
The only good
Dude,
offensive
like-
player we had.
like 10-year-old me would be arguing with my dad. I'm like, what do you mean? This guy
This
busted
dude-
out
yeah.
a 35-yard
Stiff
run
arm, like,
like a
linebackers.
quarter ago. He's like, anytime somebody hits him, he falls down. I'm like,
no.
that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
And again, it's just a
I
fan.
like
It's just a
Hannah's
fan
jersey.
being a fan. Like, oh, my team should just be better. Like, all of our players just be better than yours. Don't be mad when they're not. Like, I'm a fan of this team, so like our players should be better. And
Yeah, my dad was like into the Packers for a long time. Like since they had Favre and since the Rams just started kind of shitting the bed, he was just like, you know,
Green Bay's close
I'll
enough.
see them when they're like, they're always on TV, so I'll have their games on, you know, when they're on. But you know, the Rams fucking suck. He just kind of like accepted it,
Yeah.
didn't really care, and then just
No,
bitched when they were on TV.
I thought the Rams thing, like people being pissed off about
I
it,
was
just,
like
would
all
just,
into it.
like I was kind of pissed about it at first too, but I thought it would like blow over like after a couple of years. And once I realized it wasn't gonna blow over, and all these Rams fans are just still so pissed and so bitter about it, me being me, was just like, fuck it, I love the Rams again. Like they were here for 10 years. They were here for 10 years and they were bad. And you guys, where were you then? Like
I liked
you
him
wanted
then.
to pretend like you're begging the Rams to stay on their last home game. I was there. There was only maybe 2 sections of people at most that were there begging the Rams to stay. All these other motherfuckers, where were you at begging the Rams to stay?
Yeah.
Where were you at? Oh, you
There's-
weren't there because we weren't good.
There's
and then,
so many people.
And then coincidentally, the Rams
Dude.
left and the Chiefs were good. And you're like, oh, now we're gonna be the
You know
Chiefs.
who it
Now
was?
we're gonna be a Chiefs fan.
You know who it was? It was the same people that bitched, oh, well, we don't want Albert Pujols back. He fucking left us.
Yeah.
He went to LA. It's like, motherfucker, man. Like, wouldn't you have gone for more money? You would have.
10 years.
And he was here for a great
And he
11
contributed
10
to
or
2
11 years.
World Series wins. And he's fucking smashed 3 home runs in that one game.
Yeah, this was always his hometown. Like he had a
And he
a
came
charity
back.
foundation.
Oh, I don't
He
give a
was
fuck
back
about
all the
him
time.
coming back. Shut the fuck. Nobody cared what you said in 2011. Nobody cares now. Whenever he came
Yeah.
back, he hit 703. I was there whenever he hit 702 in Busch Stadium,
Yeah.
and everybody fucking loved it. Albert Pujols
We went on a rant
meant
about
more.
him in an early
Albert
episode of
Pujols
this
meant
podcast.
more to this fucking city, man, than almost any player of any team ever has.
Besides Stan Musial. Like,
No, I
the
know,
only
yeah,
person you can
that's
put him
he's
up
probably
against
the
St.
only
Louis.
person comparable.
Yeah.
Like Brett Favre to Green Bay.
Well,
was
of
a
this-
huge
of this
deal.
city.
Before,
To
he,
St.
before he
Louis,
fucked
yeah.
over all
It
those
was
charities.
big.
Before he fucked over all those
Yeah,
charities.
that was
he did.
much later in his life. Okay, much later.
He likes Brett Favre. See, I still
No,
like
I mean,
Aaron Rodgers.
he's
I don't give a
kind of
fuck
a
what
shithead,
anybody
but-
says about like this is heel. Yeah, but Aaron leans into being the heel. He
Yeah.
fucking thinks it's hilarious.
Which you know I
He
appreciate
thinks it's
that
great.
always.
I love it. I fucking think it's great.
If people are gonna want to make you the villain, fuck it, play the villain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And guess what? Now he's got more polarization. He's got more John Cena about him than ever before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ever. Because he is that guy. And he is that good. Like there is some people who was it, not to take it too far in that sense, but we were talking about the Texans. Okay, CJ Stroud, the different shots he's been taking at Aaron Rodgers about like you've probably seen him.
Honestly, I
He
have
said that he would rather have, and I know you guys are about to jump on this immediately. He said that he would rather have Eli's career than Aaron's. Colin said, okay, well, you know, I can kind of understand that, and Nick Wright even vouched for this too, because I think Colin thought, even though Nick Wright is Colin's like protege basically,
Yeah.
Colin probably thought Nick Wright was going to go with the Eli stance, but Nick Wright actually said, "Why would you rather do that? Because overall, Aaron may have one less Super Bowl, but he's still got a Super Bowl, and he's got multiple
Well, also, I
MVPs.
don't
He's
think-
got multiple personal records. He is one of the great players of all time. Whereas Eli may have had a more
he had
successful
two really great games.
postseason
Against
career.
a really great quarterback.
He may
He
have
was
had
a great postseason.
he may have had a more successful in a lot of ways postseason career, but overall Aaron is the better player, and he is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know
Eli
what I mean? And I'm not
is
taking
a
anything
great
away.
dude.
I don't dislike Eli at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the 2 Super Bowls. Nick Wright's point was 1 Super Bowl doesn't stand between them being this and that in there. Like it doesn't stand between I would rather have this career than that just because he's got one more trophy.
Right.
Aaron still has a trophy, but he's got all the personal accolades. He's got an insane amount. And I don't even know if Eli was ever in the MVP voting.
I don't think
ever.
I don't think he ever won a regular season MVP. No, and he might have been.
Yeah,
he might have
maybe.
finished top 5 a time or
So
2.
that's the point of it.
Yeah, he had. I feel like Eli was he was clutch. And that's what his career was founded on. Like if he made the playoffs,
He wasn't even the best Manning in his family.
He was gonna. I mean, that's even debatable. You know?
Yeah, I do too.
I'm taking a piss break.
You guys want to pause it for a second?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Anyway, yeah. So CJ Stroud is talking major shit on Aaron Rodgers as of lately. I don't know what that's all about. He's been taking shots at one of the greatest, man. I don't know what's going on with that, but I guess we'll see how his upcoming season plays out.
There ain't been a lot of rookies the last few years that came in like C.J. Stroud did last year. So if there's anybody, I'm not saying I would do that if I were him, but
He's got a more
honestly,
stacked
I don't
offense.
even know what he said other than I think I read a quote, one of his first quotes about.
He's been punching up at Aaron Rodgers.
I could be fucking this up, but I feel like he just said that Favre was better than Rodgers for Green Bay, but maybe I don't know. Did he say? He said something like that. I think.
I know he said the thing about he would rather have Eli's career than Rodgers' career, but that's on the sole basis of he's got 2 rings and Rodgers has 1.
Right.
But I don't think that that's the only merit that matters. There's a lot of regular season records that Rodgers has, and it's up for.
That's honestly a good that's a good
anything
debate,
else.
honestly.
And Colin and Nick Wright though ultimately both agreed that they would rather have Rodgers' career than Eli's.
During the regular season, it's not even close. But then
Rodgers, he's like the 4-time
If you
MVP.
take postseason into account,
2 Super Bowl wins versus
But
1.
but the thing is Nick Wright's point was that it's much closer 2 seasons to 1 than their regular season stats.
Oh yeah,
or any fucking thing close.
but it's the 2 maybe greatest games Eli ever played were both against Tom Brady. It's
But one Super Bowl to none is a much greater difference than 1 to 2.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you don't win a Super Bowl,
Yeah, that is the point, and that is what Nick Wright reiterated. And it honestly seemed like even though Colin is his, he's his mentor and everything.
yeah,
It seemed like Colin didn't necessarily expect Nick Wright to agree with that, but Colin agreed with Nick whenever he said that he would rather have Rodgers' career than Eli's. Because he's still got the Super Bowl, but he has all the regular season
because
accolades as well.
if Eli had not beat Brady, definitely twice, but even if he didn't, if Eli hadn't beat Brady either time, twice is absurd. But even after the first time, if not for that, nobody would really talk about Eli Manning ever.
Yeah.
He was a solid quarterback for sure.
Nobody's talking about Eli as far as
If
this is the point is nobody's talking about Eli as one of the GOATs or one of the greatest football throwers of all time or one of the greatest QBs of all time. You know what I mean? They're talking about Peyton like that. They're talking about Brady. They're talking about Joe Montana. They're talking about Aaron Rodgers. They're talking about people
Eli
like that.
is
They're not
best
talking about
known-
Eli like that.
Yeah, he's best known as Tom Brady's kryptonite. Really.
Yeah.
Or as Will Ferrell Ron Burgundy would say, Eli Manning's bitch.
Yeah.
Say it again. That wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's so funny how that worked out. That Peyton played Tom for years, and Tom beat him 80% of the time. I don't know the exact stats, but probably 80% of the time.
And then Eli plays him twice, and just one season they're 18-0. It's Tom Brady and Randy Moss setting all records. And then what's the Mario Manningham catch? And then that wasn't the guy that carved off his helmet. That was who's the guy that carved off his helmet in the 2012 Super Bowl?
I thought that was
David
08.
Tyree. David Tyree. 08 was the year, or 08, 09. 08 might have been it was 07 regular season, but 08 Super Bowl where Brady and the Patriots were undefeated. It was Brady and Moss. They're undefeated, but then they lose to Brady. And I don't remember. There was the Mario Manningham catch, and then there was the David Tyree catch. And remember the one that was off the helmet. That was, I don't remember which guy that was. But either way, like two like absurd plays that happened that like made Eli beat Brady in both those Super Bowls. And like him and Randy Moss that year, that was an absurd year. Like they said on the roast, like everybody was just so terrified of us that year, and he had, I think Randy Moss played there for 2 or 3 seasons, but they never won a Super Bowl. But the one, I think it was his first or second year there is when they went undefeated in the regular season, then won the first 2 playoff games, and then lost to Eli, and I think that was the 08, maybe 09 Super Bowl. Definitely right before 2010. But fuck, if Eli had not won even one of those Super Bowls, would we ever even talk about him? Probably not.
No.
He probably wouldn't.
Not really.
Yeah, not in the same light, that's for sure. He would still be known because he's a Manning, but it definitely wouldn't be as respected.
No. Well, that was just so funny because Peyton and Brady were rivals in the AFC for years, and Brady almost always got the best of him. And then he plays the little brother, not nearly as good, pretty good, but not Peyton Manning. And then he beats him he beats the greatest quarterback of all time twice in the biggest game of the year. I'm happy for Eli. Would you rather be Eli or Peyton? Would you still rather be Peyton Manning than Eli?
Oh yeah.
Peyton did.
He won just as many.
Peyton won 2.
Right?
Yeah.
Peyton did win 2 Super Bowls.
And he had more regular season records.
That year that Peyton first joined the Broncos was fucking absurd.
Didn't he throw 55 touchdowns in 1 year?
I believe he broke the record for at least touchdown passes.
He had some insane
He had
stats.
55 touchdown passes that year.
Yeah, in whenever they only had 16
in the first
games.
game of the year, I remember I had this is the first year I picked up fantasy football in a few years. It was one of my first years playing. I think the first year I ever played fantasy football was 2008 or 9. And then one of my first years I had Peyton Manning when he joined the Broncos. Oh, that was 2012. So I played for a year or 2, took a year or 2 off, and then I started playing again. And I drafted Peyton Manning first year on the Broncos. First fucking game. There was 7 touchdowns. And that was the year he threw 55 touchdowns. He definitely broke that record. And then I think he broke passing touchdowns record for sure. And then I don't know if he broke yards record or there's another record I think he broke. But he for sure passed passing touchdowns record that year. And then that was the year they went to the Super Bowl, I think, and then they got fucked up by the Seahawks.
Yeah, that was rough.
But then the year that he actually won the ring against Carolina, when Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl, he didn't have a good year at all. It was
the last
their defense carried him that whole fucking time. His second Super Bowl championship was he did not perform well. That was they were carried by their defense basically. It was as long as Peyton doesn't turn it over, he's not going to throw 55 touchdown passes, but as long as Peyton doesn't turn it over and our defense continues to be this elite, that's how they won.
Miller and
that
was he won MVP or something 1 year, didn't he?
I think he definitely won the MVP of the year that he threw 55 touchdown passes. And there's another record he broke that year. I can't remember if it was yards or all-time yards or all-time touchdowns. He definitely broke a couple different huge records that year, but for sure had 55 or more touchdowns and broke the passing touchdowns record that year.
Yeah, it was a tough go for Peyton because he had Tom.
Oh
in
yeah,
that
he went
conference,
up
you know?
against Tom in the AFC title game a few times, and Tom always beat him. And then his brother
was
went up
always
against
hard.
Tom twice and fucking beat him both times. Which is hilarious because
Yeah, it was like Peyton. That was like the final boss for him, you know. Every time it was like, fuck, I gotta face Tom Brady
I don't
again
think-
at some point.
what was the year he won with the Colts? Did he beat Brady that year? That had to be like early 2000s, right? Like early to mid 2000s. The year
Yeah,
he won the Super he won the Super Bowl with the Colts one year, right?
yeah.
I don't remember who the fuck they played. I don't remember if he beat Brady. But I feel like he had to beat Brady. 2004 or 5 maybe? I don't know.
He definitely won one with the Colts, right?
But he got beat by Brady like almost every year in the AFC title game until that one year he finally beat him.
07.
Was it?
07
This is the year
and 16.
before their undefeated season. They beat the Patriots in the AFC title game that year?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Either way, crazy like
It was the
Brady
year
and Manning.
before their undefeated season, so it wouldn't surprise me. But
Yeah.
it could have been the Steelers too, because I was like,
Yeah,
Big Ben's,
there was like
heyday.
there was like 15 years in the NFL where every AFC championship game either Brady, Roethlisberger, or Peyton Manning were in it for like 15 years straight.
The last 13, it was either Tom Brady or
Mahomes,
yeah.
which is wild.
Yeah.
Mahomes is just taking over.
I was never like. I think, damn, that kicked in harder than headphones. I did not expect that.
I know.
The AC unit. Shout out to them.
Keeping us
Them. All those people that
Keeping
live
us
in that
comfortable.
unit. Oh shit.
Anyway,
Man, I'm
to close up the football talk.
not normal.
What's your early Super Bowl prediction for next year?
Ooh.
And then we'll move on. But I'm gonna say, fuck.
I would
I
say.
think I was saying earlier. I've been telling people at work about this for a while. I looked up the odds Super Bowl winner the other night. I think I'm gonna bet on the Texans to win the Super Bowl. Not that I think they're like
That is bold.
not that I think they're like a top 3 to 4 or 5 contender. Like I don't think
They're top, like, 8,
I
probably.
don't think they're a top 5 team. But I think
They have a great team.
But I think right now they're the best value. I think they would have like the 7th best odds to win the Super Bowl at 16 to 1. Last I checked. And I mean, CJ Stroud had a killer fucking first year. His receiving core is already good. They just added Stephon Diggs. The Titans, Colts, both have fucking first or second year quarterbacks. And you got the Jags and Trevor Lawrence in their division who like
They-
underperformed.
yeah,
They
this is like
flopped
last year. Yeah, they had Urban Meyer the first
And I
year.
like
with
Trevor
Lawrence,
Lawrence
and it
and
was
stuff.
like,
I'm like, I want that
well, they
team
killed
to
the second year.
succeed.
Like they overperformed the second year, and then they underperformed last year.
Oh yeah.
So I think the Texans, or I think the Titans and the Colts, they still have like Anthony Richardson. Who's the fucking? I can't remember the quarterback from Tennessee. I can't remember his name, but like Will Levis. He's definitely had a few bright moments. Like all have potential, but I think the Colts and the Titans. I don't know. Like those quarterbacks are young and good, but CJ Stroud, like fuck.
He came in.
Fuck.
Yeah, he was a force last year.
Like when's the last
Like,
time a quarterback came in and that was that good as a rookie? Besides, like it was probably Mahomes. Was like the last
like,
one.
And then
And
Bryce
he
Young
doesn't
just
even.
got
And he
smaller.
honestly barely counts in that conversation.
Yeah, because he was
Because-
sitting on the bench for like.
Because CJ Stroud was like a first or second overall pick.
Yeah,
He was probably second, I think.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, well, that was his last draft. Or no, that wasn't that draft. Carolina took Bryce Young. And then, yeah, Houston had the second pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they fucking killed last year. They have those receivers. Like, Tank Dell went down, but then they have Nico Collins. Then they had... Fuck, I don't remember the other guy's name. But they had... But now they had Stephon Diggs to an already fucking pretty damn good offense. And I don't... Like I said, I don't think they're like a top 3 to 5 team. But I think they're the best value right now to win the Super Bowl. At 16 to 1 odds as of like 2 nights ago when I checked. Like, I think I'm definitely going to bet on the Texans because halfway through the season, their odds are going to be, their value is going to be 50% of what it is right now, I think.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, that's a bet I'm going to make,
Yeah,
but that's
they're gonna
not,
be-
but that's
they're
not
gonna
my
be
Super
good.
Bowl prediction. Like, that's a different thing. Fuck. Like, I think Marquise Brown coming into the Chiefs is going to kill it.
Oh, they're at least making the AFC Championship
Yeah,
game.
they're going to be good regardless. I feel
But
like.
I think.
And the league got a salary cap boost too. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, but. Fuck.
Which is kind of bullshit too.
No, Ravens Chiefs opening night. That's probably it's probably the best opening night game we've had in a few years.
Mm-hmm. There's like the Thursday schedule is the most stacked it's been in maybe ever.
That would used to be like the game. Like that was the last few years. It was like okay, every team in the league has to play one Thursday night game. So there was a few nights where you got like the Panthers against the Bears, and you're like, this is gonna be a shitty game, but fuck it, it's Thursday night. What else is going on? I'm gonna watch this game. I don't care who's playing, and especially if you make a bet on it. I bet on the kid. That was actually a game on Thursday Night Football last year, like Bears and Panthers.
What was the Artie Lang quote?
The Reds Pirates thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to watch a Reds Pirates game when you got $3,000 on the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing applies to a Bears Panthers game.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have $3,000 on the line, but I definitely put like $5 or $10 on. I think both defenses or special teams to score the first touchdown in that game. I put like 5 on like both of them to score the first touchdown, which usually pays out minimum 25 to 1 odds. And the Panthers returned that like a punt for a touchdown for the first touchdown of the game, and I made like I don't know, I was probably 25 to 1 odds on a $5 bet. And shit, that's the funnest bet to hit is that first touchdown bet. Especially when it's a defense returning a fucking punt for a touchdown.
Well, whenever I got
special
those,
teams.
whenever I got those
Yeah.
free bets from DraftKings, like remember I made them both
Dude.
ways
Yeah.
because they were like $25 each.
I never got that many bonus credits when I first signed up, so I was like, I mean, these have a small percentage of hit, but even if one of those would have hit, you would have cashed out so fucking big on literally
Yeah.
free money. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
free money. Your first time to the casino, you had to take it.
I did call it right though, like actually putting my money on McCaffrey for having the first touchdown of the Super Bowl. I did win money on that.
And I would never remember who scored that first touchdown.
I won money on that. I won money on Mahomes being the MVP. I won money on heads being the coin toss result. I won money on the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I'm trying to think what else I won money on, but I won money on all 4 of those things.
I remember I put like 300 on the Chiefs before it started. And then they were down, 10.5, and I doubled down on the Chiefs. And then we had got to the casino, like 3 hours before the game even started.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put in our whole football bets, but it's like, all right, we got a lot of time to kill. What else can we bet on today?
You bet on. You were
I
like
bet on
looking
golf,
for things
dude.
to bet on.
I bet on whatever the PGA. I don't even remember. I bet on golf a couple times in my life, and I remember this. It was funny as the Super Bowl the year before this past year.
I wouldn't even understand betting on golf. I'd be like,
It was. I didn't do any like crazy prop bets.
Taylor!
That's what it was. It was Dick Taylor, man, the Canadian. So the year before this past year, I went to the Super Bowl hella early again, made my Super Bowl bets, and I'm like, all right, well I got hours to kill. I can't just sit here and not bet on anything else, because I'm a fucking degenerate. So I'm like, all right, there's golf on the TV. Let's bet on somebody like. Nah, I ain't gonna bet on the guy that's leading right now, because what fun is that? I'm gonna bet on like the 4th or 5th guy leading right now, which was Nick Taylor. And I bet on him a year before this past year, and I think he was like he made a good comeback. Like, he had a good final stretch, but then like Scotty Scheffler eagled on one of his last holes, so Nick Taylor barely fucking lost. And then this past year we went back for the Super Bowl, It just so happened where Nick Taylor was again playing on the Super Bowl day, and again in 4th or 5th place. Whenever I saw this on the screen, it said, I gotta bet on something. I'm fucking here. I'm gonna bet on Nick Taylor to win this thing. And this time he did win the fucking thing. So I had already put
That was a ridiculous.
So I had already put. I'm like, fuck it, I'll put $5 or $10 on this golfer I've never watched in my life besides last year for a few minutes. But it's like, we got a few hours for the game. Like, there's nothing else to bet on. Let's bet on golf.
He was your boy. He came through for you.
He did. I bet him in the prior year. He let me down barely. And it's really only because Scheffler had that eagle. But then last year, I was like, fuck it. This is going to be Nick Taylor's year. So I'd already put $300 down on the Chiefs. And I think it was the Chiefs were an underdog in the Super Bowl, right? They were like a 1.5 underdog, I believe. So I had taken the Chiefs plus 1.5 points to start the day at like, I don't know, I bet like $300 or something. And then
Nobody's gonna make that mistake again.
And yeah, dude, if I'm getting the Chiefs as an underdog, I'm gonna bet them until they prove me fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, they just haven't. Besides the one game against Brady and the Bucks in 2020, which
And that was Brady.
yeah. But it's like what?
Yep.
I don't know. So it's like I bet on the Chiefs. I bet on the Chiefs originally. It's not, and honestly, like I was never like a big Brady hater or a big Brady fan until the year he came back against the Falcons, and I was like,
That was the year it turned everything.
after this, like, how the fuck can you deny this guy after 28-3? He comes back. Like, I've never been like one side or the other, like hate him or love him. I was just like, and then I saw that game. I'm like, all right, anybody who's still hating, like, 28-3, motherfucker came back after that game. You can't deny the guy. You just can't.
With how many minutes left, it was like insane.
That was, yeah.
But
He had like a quarter left.
But when it was 28-3 at halftime, right?
yeah, I mean, if the Falcons just run the fucking
I don't
ball,
even think the Falcons though scored again. Like,
I
did
don't-
they?
I don't-
No, they had all those points on
what was the final 31-28? I think.
Yeah,
No,
probably.
no way they didn't score any points at all in the second half.
I don't think they did.
If they would have just ran the ball like another play or two, the Patriots wouldn't have enough time to win. But
That was bad.
that was just mismanaged, like just bad coaching, I think.
Yeah, it was rough.
But again, bad coaching for sure. But you can't take that away from Brady. Like, I don't care if you hate the guy. Like 28-3, 28-3.
The Falcons are still recovering
it was
from
hard
that
to
shit
come
stain.
back. Dude, it was hard to come back from that for any of them though. Like Matt Ryan, it never felt like he was the same.
No,
It
that
was
was. I
like-
think that was that his. I think that was his MVP season too.
Yeah, it was like probably his best year for sure.
Definitely his best year. Like, he was always a solid quarterback, but his MVP season was absurd. Colin always says, like, take out a player's very best year, take out his very worst year, and then average that, and that's who he is. And, like, Matt Ryan's like a solid quarterback, but he's not like that was his only like outstanding year.
Yeah. It's rough.
But yeah, Super Bowl predictions for this year. Again, I'm not going to officially predict the Texans to win the Super Bowl. However, I am going to bet on that. I'm going to officially predict Ravens.
Everybody always calls the Ravens and they fall short.
Dude, I actually bet on the Ravens a couple years ago. But fuck, man. I mean, Derrick Henry's out of his prime, but he's still Derrick Henry. And the Ravens have, like, had just the worst luck ever with running backs the last few years. Like, they signed Devontae Freeman off his couch. J.K. Dobbins gets hurt every fucking year. Who was the other? Didn't they sign fucking Todd Gurley? No, that was the Falcons a few years ago.
Yeah.
They signed, like, a few different, like, quarterbacks or running backs that used to be elite, like, off their couch. And it was like they were obviously not their old selves, but good enough to, like, keep the Ravens as a 10-win team. It's like now they have Derrick Henry, maybe a little out of his prime. I think he's got a year or two left. I think the Ravens upset the Chiefs on opening night. I'm going to call that right now. And I think the Ravens and... Are the Lions going to get back to the Super Bowl? Or are they going to get the Super Bowl this year? Maybe Ravens-Lions. Maybe Ravens-Lions. McCaffrey's going to get hurt this year for sure, right? He didn't get hurt all last year.
He got hurt like he got taken out
he-
2 seasons already.
Yeah, he's had a lot of bad injuries.
And those were the worst ones, were the ones that took
Yeah.
him out the
Yeah.
whole year.
So, yeah.
But he cannot be relied on the way he was this past year. There's no
Yes,
fucking
right.
way.
There's
year,
no way
though.
he's ever
There's
gonna
there's no fucking way they can rely on him like they did this year. There's no way.
I'm gonna say Ravens Lions next year. I'm gonna say Lions.
That's bold. I don't know.
Lions over the Lions over the Ryans. Lions over the Ravens. Super Bowl. Saying it, calling it. But I'm also gonna bet the Texans just as a good value pick.
I could do. The Texans. They're a good sleeper. I could definitely see that being
Again,
a thing.
don't think they're a top 3 or 5 team right
They're
now.
just a really.
But they're a good
stacked
value.
team.
They're like the 7th or 8th, like top favorite to win the Super Bowl. And I think after 4 or 5 weeks, I have not actually seen their schedule yet. But again, I think they're better than the Colts and the Titans by a decent amount. And the only team in their division that might give them a problem is the Jags. But again, the Jags 2 years ago were like the Texans of last year, and then last year the Jags took like 2 steps back, and it's like, okay, who the fuck are the Jags now?
They're Trevor Lawrence. That's their identity. And if he leaves,
But I don't even.
they're nothing.
Again, I don't know what Trevor Lawrence is because the first year he had Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
It was like that was a clusterfuck, and then he
Yeah.
killed it the second year, and then last year
He's still got a high ceiling, but he's in an organization that doesn't really have much of an identity without him.
Hopefully, the Jags move to St. Louis in the near future. That'd be sick.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Hey Tony,
I heard we were getting the Chargers like years ago. I remember that shit.
it was between
It's
like,
like,
the,
oh,
You're
the
like half
Chargers-
awake over there.
The Chargers are gonna
Curious
happen.
What I'm
Yeah,
really
I'm
curious
trying,
about,
man.
what I'm really curious about is how many people are in attendance next week for the UFL Championship in St. Louis when the Battlehawks lost yesterday. How many people are going to show up to the game between Birmingham and San Antonio? And I think if that gets a huge draw,
Fuck Birmingham.
dude, they fucking murdered everybody all season. I think they
Yeah.
like 2. We lost. We
Fucking
lost.
Alabama.
We lost 3 games. We won to San Antonio, just like the same team we lost to yesterday. And then we lost 2 other games, both to Birmingham in the regular season. And then Birmingham only lost, I think, 2 games in the regular season. But I think they benched all their starters both of those games when they were already locked into the playoffs. It's like Birmingham is going to fuck up San Antonio next week, but I'm curious to see how many people show up to this championship in St. Louis since we're not in it. And if we get a huge draw for that, I feel like there's just better chances we get either the Jags or what you said, the Chargers. I don't know, the Chargers and the Rams. I don't know what deal they just made on that new SoFi Stadium, but I don't think I don't think the Chargers could like legally move back here anytime or move here at all anytime soon. I feel like if we got another team anywhere in the next like 5 years, it would probably be like the Jags or we're probably gonna move the Jags to England. Honestly,
I heard talk about that
that's
too.
probably gonna happen.
Yeah, I could see
honestly,
more
that's probably-
international
That's
teams.
definitely more likely than in St. Louis. At this point, I think. And then they're doing like a Brazil game
Mm-hmm.
with like the Eagles and Packers, which I just heard earlier that was really controversial. Something about gang colors and
Oh yeah, it's
In
like
Brazil,
apparently Brazil's sketchy as fuck
Oh, yeah.
in some areas.
Yeah, I've
so
heard-
it's like
there was a
Brazil is fucking huge.
there was a foreign exchange student when we were in high school that was from Brazil, and he basically was saying, yeah, there's gangs everywhere. The streets are not great. Like, I totally forgot they were playing in Brazil, and then this dude at work the other night was telling me that they outlawed like one of the teams to wear a certain color, like maybe green, and they both have green.
yeah.
Because of like that was like one of the biggest gang colors in Brazil, which is fucking wild.
But wouldn't they like that then? They'd be like, fuck
I
yeah,
don't-
woo! They're my guy!
I don't know, man.
Or maybe it'd be the
Yeah,
other
two-
guy.
Two green teams. Who was it? The Packers and who?
The Eagles. I think they're supposed to play the Brazil game next year, which I totally.
Oh my god.
Again, I didn't even know this until like I was like last night. And
That's who they picked.
I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like a good game
I
otherwise.
think 2 of the best like NFC franchises ever.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
For sure. Fan bases.
Okay. We're just dragging this along for way too long now. I want to hear Super Bowl predictions from both of you
I don't
before we move
I
on
don't
from
know,
this NFL
man.
shit.
I don't necessarily know. I mean, I
Never
do think
really thought it
I
through.
do think the Chiefs at least make it back to the AFC Championship game, the same as I predicted
Same
last
here.
year.
It's hard to bet against the Chiefs at this point in the
Yeah.
game.
But
Like, even
making
if I
the Super
want
Bowl, I mean, it just depends on who they encounter
Dude,
in that go round.
Marquise Brown, so the Chiefs have brought in, after they lost Tyreek, they brought in They brought in Juju 2 years ago, and then they brought in,
it didn't work.
who they
for
bring
a
in?
while.
Who they
I know
bring in
that.
last year? Was it just,
Valdez,
no, well,
Scantling.
they had him, and then they lost him, and they
Yeah.
brought him back. Oh, no, that was Mecole Hardman. They just re-signed him again.
Mhm.
Wasn't there another guy, like, after Juju that they tried to sign from another team, and he didn't really do shit last year?
I
Yeah,
don't
because
remember.
Juju was on the Patriots last year. He was on the Chiefs 2 years
Yeah.
ago, and I drafted him in our fantasy league because I was thinking, okay, Juju's killing it with Pittsburgh. Like he's gonna be Mahomes' guy. No, still Kelsey. Juju had it took him halfway through the season, but they ended up having 2 pretty good games. But that's all he did.
Yeah.
But I feel like they signed somebody else pretty good last year, but I don't remember who the fuck it was. It was also a disappointment. Kadarius fucking Tony. The guy who just dropped
That was
everything
more than a
last
disappointment.
year. But then, dude,
Lined up 3 yards offsides and shit.
remember his first 1 or 2 games with the Giants? Daniel Jones hit him for a couple touchdowns, and I picked him up then, thinking, okay, this is the best receiver, not the best receiver, but the most potential receiver on the free agent market. And then he went to KC. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna kill it. And they just dropped everything last year. And now I'm like, they just signed Marquise Brown, and I'm like, oh fuck, they might just kill it with Marquise Brown.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, not hopefully for my sake. Not that I want to shit on the Chiefs. They're the team of the area for whatever
I
reason that we're in.
love the
But I'm
Well,
not,
you know why? It's because it's the closest one to us.
they're not though.
and
If I had to say, just winging it right now, not too much thought put into it.
what are you googling right now to make
I
this
was-
decision?
No, I was just looking at the standings and seeing what everybody finished out last year and whatnot. But just out of instinct versus what had happened last year, and considering some of the moves made this year, I wouldn't think it'd be out of the realm of possibility maybe to see. And I know it's just because of their postseason success of their most recent years, but I could definitely see
Chiefs Lions.
Chiefs Lions Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
100%.
fuck that game on opening night last year was sick.
I could definitely see that.
I don't know if the Lions are getting back there.
I thought that too because of getting as far as they did this year. It doesn't
They-
feel like something they would.
They should have all the motivation in the world after they
But
were up on the. What, they were
If
up
the
on
Niners are in a must-win situation this year. If they don't, this team is no more. It is not the same team after that.
There's already been a lot of talk all this offseason about either.
Which
trading-
I am glad. They need to fucking disband that fucking Niners team. Get them out of here. Nobody wants to see San Fran even in the top fucking 10.
Why do you have beef with San Fran now?
It's just a bullshit city and a bullshit fan base. I don't
get
agree
it
with a
'cause
lot
they
of things
dominate
about
the
them.
NFC, and I don't.
They beat
I've
a lot
never-
of my
I've never-
favorite teams,
Yeah.
but also I don't know. The city. No.
I mean,
They need to go down.
there was already talk all offseason about either trading
Their politics, their bullshit.
Ayuk or Debo. And ain't no way McCaffrey is going to be as healthy this next season as he was last year.
No, there's no way. They need to get him. Debo's getting older. Kittle's getting older. Ayuk, they got to re-sign him. If they don't, they're fucked.
That ain't the problem. They're going to be a good team. The problem is...
This is their. This is it.
The problem is this team right here.
This is it.
The
And the
Sam-
Rams are not going to pose a threat. Look at the odds. The Rams, there's no fucking way.
So that tells me I'm going to bet on the Rams versus Texans.
They don't even have the top 5 chances in the NFC.
I officially haven't looked at that, but I'll take your word for it because the top
The
5 teams in the
Rams?
NFC.
The Packers are on the come up, baby.
Odds-wise,
No, and they're not paying anybody, and they're as good as they are. Everybody else is paying fucking millions and millions of dollars.
Well,
The Packers are what the Cardinals were of the MLB, where they have the best
with the
farm
illustrious
system, where
farm
they
system.
they
You know,
pluck people way in advance to where they're like, this is our next.
They're
guy,
good. They're
you
good
know?
at it. They're good at it. I mean, they might not win a dynasty worth of Super Bowls, but they win one here and there.
few teams do.
You know,
win a dynasty.
but that's the thing. The Cardinals won one. It honestly was kind of weird the way the Cardinals won one. They won in 06 and 2011. That's a 5-year gap. That's kind of a weird gap to be able to win multiple Super Bowls.
Well, and there was also the 2 years where Boston just beat the dog piss out of us.
Yeah, that was fucking
They
bullshit.
swept us.
I
in
fucking
04.
hated that.
They swept us in 04. And
Dude,
in
fuck
2013,
Boston
they
Red
won.
Sox.
They didn't sweep us. They won in like 5 in 2013.
I hate them. I don't care. I don't care if they ever win another fucking World Series again, you know?
Well, after they beat the Curse of Bambino, they won in. So they won
Yeah,
in 04.
they did it.
They
Congratulations.
won in 2007. They won in
It's
2013. What else? Did they win a Super Bowl or the World Series after?
No, they did.
2013?
No, didn't they beat the Dodgers in like 2019 or
Oh, man,
2018?
that sounds like a disgusting.
I think they
fucking
did.
World Series.
I think they did.
Oh, I could see
Because the
it.
Dodgers won in 2020 against the Rays, but I think the year or two before that, the Red Sox.
I don't want to see the Dodgers anywhere
No,
fucking close
here's
to
what
the
happened.
World
Here's
Series.
here's what happened. I think the
Dodgers, Red Sox, I'm not tuning in.
Oh, I'm tuning in no matter who. plays.
Dodgers, Yankees. No
Cleve-
thanks either.
Cleveland Spiders.
I tune
They had
in.
like 13
I
and
tune
fucking
in.
The worst,
154 or something like
worst
that.
regular season team of all time.
I'd check
Yeah.
it out. You know, if they were on TV, I'd have to see how it went. I'd be like, this team is
The Cleveland Spiders?
Oh
Dude,
yeah,
if I'm-
I'd
if
be
I'm-
like,
if
this
I'm-
team's apparently dog shit. I gotta see how bad.
Yeah.
Be more interesting than a Red Sox Dodgers World Series.
If
I know
I'm
that.
sitting around on my off day and there's literally any teams playing baseball, I'm watching it. I don't even care. It don't matter. And if I'm in Illinois, I'm for sure betting on it. And if I'm in Missouri, I'm trying to convince somebody to bet me on it. Every time.
You got any probability predictions for the Super Bowl?
Well, Elijah has to make one because we both made one, and we both have.
Wait,
I just threw one out
what
there.
was yours?
I don't necessarily feel strong about it, but I could maybe see it happening.
He's got.
I threw the Lions and the Chiefs out there.
And I got Ravens Lions.
Dude, I honestly don't want this to be the
I already
prediction.
know Elijah's gonna say Browns versus Cowboys.
I
No,
wish.
he's gonna throw the Chiefs out
I
there.
sure as fuck wish.
Do not throw the dog shit fucking Niners against the Chiefs again.
I could see that being the case though.
No, that'd be the
Not-
worst Super Bowl of all fucking time.
Maybe an unpopular thing that people want to see, but not a bad bet to make.
Just
They've been
just
the be-
an
they've been-
atrocious.
They've been mostly the best two teams the last 4 years.
Ugh. That's just disgusting. That one year where it was the Bengals versus Rams, that was a refreshment.
That was a good Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it was.
Man, it's
it, was
hard.
it was a good Super Bowl.
it was. It was fun. But Joe Burrow can't stay healthy more than fucking 3 weeks, so that's not gonna happen.
And also, what I was going to bring up before this, while Elijah makes his official Super Bowl pick after he does his little research,
His little research.
World Series this year. Phillies Orioles, call them that.
Yeah.
Phillies.
I haven't
I
been
could maybe
keeping
see
up
it
at all.
being the Dodgers Orioles, but if it was
This
the
is-
Dodgers Orioles, I fucking hope the Orioles smacked the dog shit out of them. Damn, this is where we're at. This is episode
Honestly,
133. Stay tuned, everybody. But no, I mean, I would be all down for the Baltimore Orioles. If the Cardinals don't get in, obviously, and it's not looking promising right now, I gotta tell you, folks.
Hey,
But if the Orioles make it that far, I am
Hey.
fucking all for the Orioles.
Cardinals are going to make the playoffs this year. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
What are you gonna put on that?
I don't know. Anybody,
You know what?
Anybody wants to bet against
The
the Cardinals?
Youngbloods,
hit my
my
line.
wild bet would be Packers Texans.
Dude, that's honestly not bad. I'll put $5 on that.
$5.
Yeah,
He's
but that's
feeling
really-
confident.
If you can literally bet on like.
And
you
I
can
don't
put it-
even
you can
really
even bet
like
on-
either of those teams all
No, that would be good though.
You
That
can
would
either-
be decent. That would be new.
If you put $5 on that, like just Super Bowl matchup, that probably pays at least 50 to 1.
Hey, I would have gotten a major amount of money for betting that fucking Bills Chiefs game, and I bet it 100% correct that score.
It don't matter. if
I
you
didn't put
officially
shit on
bet
it. Yeah, I know. I know. It's one of the
So
big
wait.
disgruntlements of my life.
Elijah's Super Bowl prediction was what again? He didn't. He never said it. He said
He
said his
said it.
hopeful prediction.
He said he was
No.
hoping that the Packers
no,
would make
I
it.
don't think that's
That's
a
honestly
hope.
like. Dude,
Packers Texans would be. That would be a bet for sure. I could.
that'd be a fuck. That's a good ass value right now. If that would like. That's not.
Otherwise,
that's not
I'd
unreasonable.
maybe throw out Chiefs and Eagles again.
That's
Chiefs
safer.
Cowboys.
That's safer, but not more
Because I want
valuable.
the Cowboys there.
The
And
Cowboys
I think
under their like
his
ninth
face.
under
His
their
face.
under their ninth failed
look, I
season
don't
with
think
Dak.
it would be, but
Hey, they got Zeke.
Always
they
a
got
hope.
Zeke
No,
back, like
no,
you said
wait,
earlier.
yeah, that's not gonna make it damn. That's gonna bring him down, if anything.
I don't think it's gonna really matter that much.
but that'd be.
I
the
think
hope.
it's
The
gonna be-
Cowboys-
If it wasn't Chiefs Niners.
The
think-
Cowboys' ceiling has come and gone under Dak.
under Dak or
Under
Under
Jerry.
Dak,
or
under
or
Dak,
under
under
Mike,
Dak.
or under Mike McCarthy.
If Dak
Under
wins,
Jerry Jones
if
and
Dak,
Mike
if
McCarthy.
Dak experiences more success, it will be under somebody else. It'll be under some
No,
other
no.
organization.
Dude, honestly,
It would be a fucking mistake to pay that guy that much money and have no weapons around him.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb's like a top 4 receiver in the league.
Okay, but how has it panned out so far?
And
And
not-
Dak's getting
not-
progressively
Dude,
worse.
Not
CeeDee
great,
Lamb's
and that's-
my favorite player in the league.
CeeDee
right
Lamb's
now,
the shit.
probably.
But to answer your question, not great, and that's with a pretty good fucking defense too. So I don't know what the
I
fuck
know.
they have to do.
I know.
I think change
And
that.
and a Packers team of kids
You know what?
went into their back fucking yard and they beat the shit out of them.
Cowboys right now, you know you should sign for your head coach,
What? Dude,
Jeff Fisher.
fuck no. Fuck no. Get the mustache the fuck out of here. But also,
This is how you throw the ball.
Jerry Jones doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't try to make
that's the
moves
thing.
in the
That is
offseason
exactly
ever.
that is exactly the problem. It's an
Yeah.
owner. It's an owner with like
It is.
just overstepping his fucking bounds, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna hire Mike McCarthy." Not a terrible coach, but like an outdated coach. Like he just hired Mike McCarthy because Mike McCarthy will do everything Jerry Jones wants him to do. He's not gonna hire a guy that's gonna oppose Jerry Jones in any way whatsoever. And like even if it's for the betterment of their franchise, Jerry Jones has been like, "No, I ain't gonna hire you unless I want you to like unless you're gonna do things my way. I ain't gonna fucking hire you." And that's exactly what it is. I think the Cowboys have had the talent the last few years to fucking compete for a Super Bowl. I think it's Mike McCarthy. I think it is.
Their window is
They don't have the
closing.
balls. They don't have the fucking balls.
Because the kind of contract Dak's going to demand is going to make it to where they have no weapons around him.
And he's
I mean,
been-
they might have CD, but
and-
that's also why they signed CD before they signed Dak to a contract. To get Dak to basically compromise for less than.
well, they don't have.
And they need
The
to.
thing with CD is he's about to be in I think his 4th season.
And they need to
So they
because
really didn't really pay him that much for his first season.
Dak's not worth whatever he wants to say. I've never played for the money. That's bullshit. Everybody plays for the money.
Yeah.
He's
to
not.
to some degree. Yeah.
He's
not
not
everybody's
going.
always going to like seek out the highest contract.
No.
Like, it's very rare that a
He-
person stays with the same
I mean,
team
you wanna get
forever.
paid-
The one thing that the league has never seen is what Colin said before. The one thing the league has never seen. Like, there's been the great quarterbacks that have emerged from rookie status or like second year QBs that have been on rookie contracts that have won the Super Bowl, or high paid quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl. There has never been a quarterback that is paid elite money and their B status.
And you know why that is? It's because Brady took a pay cut almost every
Be-
fucking year.
and
in New
why
England.
would Dak not do that? That's the only way you're going to be able to have a chance at the Super Bowl.
And that's the thing that
Yeah, you
pisses.
kind of
That's
have
the
to
thing.
keep your people.
That is the exact thing that pisses me off the most about people that hate Tom Brady, is because they will give shit to every other player that plays for the money oh, he's a greedy fuck. He just already got enough money. He needs more money. And Brady was like the one guy who always took a pay cut. We're like, I will sacrifice my money for my defensive players to get paid more and my fucking offensive line to get paid more to protect my ass for the betterment of the fucking team.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice my money to pay my guys more.
Yeah.
I forgot that was a thing. Do you remember like every time we had like we just heard that little buzzy sound in our ears, right? Remember when we all had like the analog TVs, and like every time you had a cell phone near them and you got like a text, it would make that fucking sound.
I didn't know if you guys got that or not. If it was just my headphones.
I forgot that sound existed until just now. That's wild.
But
Brady's the only guy who was just like, fuck it. My wife's like, again, that's part of it. His wife is a supermodel. He didn't need that much money, and again, nobody needs that much money. But Brady's the only fucking guy, or at least the first fucking guy, to be like, I don't need that much money. Like, I'll take a pay cut, pay my boys. They'll protect me. They'll help us all win. And that's the thing that pisses me the most off about people that hate Tom Brady, is because they always bitch. Oh, they only do it for the money. They don't care about the money. And Brady's the one guy who didn't give a fuck about the money. He just wanted to win. And people hate him for that too.
That's what I don't get. And like, none of this, I don't even hate Dak whatsoever, but like, in order for them to win, and you change nothing except pay the quarterback who's won games, but not had any postseason success for the most part. He's 2-5 in the playoffs, and you're gonna pay him more money and have less around him, and you expect him to do better. You think that's gonna take them further?
But I don't think that's on Dak. It's definitely not on Dak.
It's not on Dak. But why would you pay him more if that's his postseason success rate? He's the exact same quarterback as Kirk Cousins on paper in the postseason.
Because even if the Cowboys never win a Super Bowl in our lifetime, there's still, every time they even are good enough to make the playoffs, that's still fucking profit. That's still...
It's because they're a big brand.
It's still a positive business model. Like, who the fuck... Like, not everybody's CJ Stroud when they get drafted. Like, most quarterbacks aren't. Like, you draft fucking...
But then why wouldn't they move off Dak and got a less expensive quarterback and move towards the future?
Well,
because
that's
Dak is clearly not it.
That's the Jerry Jones method.
That's the
So we're going to go with Dak because we believed in him the last 9 years and it's done fucking dog shit for us.
He did it with Romo. He did it with the quarterbacks before. He likes to get somebody in there and try to franchise.
Jerry's just old school. He just like he likes the guys he just likes, and he trusts those guys. And
once he builds a trust, he's like, this is gonna be my guy for the next 5-10 years.
I understand that Dak feels like a cowboy. He's a Dallas Cowboy quarterback.
He's a very good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback. You know what he's not? He's not a great quarterback, and he's not worth great money.
But we're at like...
No, he's not worth that much money.
Maybe not, but like we're at like...
And I mean, I like Dak a lot.
He is a good quarterback.
The game has come to a point the last few years where it's like if you almost have to overpay your quarterback.
Nowadays they see all these other guys getting these contracts. They're like, well, fuck, that's
if he's even slightly above,
the league got fucked over.
If he's even slightly above mediocre, he's worth fucking paying, because it is so hard to even find a fucking
$58 million. I
mean,
even 50.
What else are you gonna do? You drafted a new quarterback. How many of the rookie quarterbacks that have been drafted the last 5 years have
some of them are going to hit
paid out? Not many.
And this was a good quarterback draft. Next year's is not.
A lot of quarterbacks were taken in this draft. We don't know. We don't know yet if it was a good
college-wise. It was a much better quarterback draft than next year will be.
It was the biggest offensive player draft I think ever.
And the league is moved offensive.
Well, yeah, it's definitely going more and more offensive, but I don't. What was it? It was at least like 12 picks before a defensive player.
It makes for a much more entertaining game.
Yeah, but it's going to be penalties and penalties. That's not entertaining.
It's not. The penalties are annoying, but also, as Colin always says, and we're going to reference Colin all the time because he's probably one of the best fucking broadcasters of all time.
He's entertaining.
He's the shit.
Justin's going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't even know why he
I've always
he never even gave a good reason.
I remember one of the first clips. I remember the first clips I showed Tim about Colin was when he was talking about like the Baseball Hall of Fame.
That was a good argument,
and
though.
how bullshit it is, and it is absolute bullshit.
It is. There's no consistency.
There is. We could do another hour on this if I even mention the name that I'm thinking right now, and even Pete Rose.
There's not one. Is this still true to this day?
I think somebody got in. So what I was gonna bring up before was one of the first segments I ever brought up to Tim about Colin, or to show Tim Colin, was he was talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame being bullshit, and he was like, there is never at this point. This is probably like 8-9 years, probably about the same time that I first met you, probably back in the same era. I showed him a clip one time because it definitely was the same year because it was when my fucking jaw was broke. I think in 2015. Yeah. And we would watch Entourage, and it was when I first started watching Game of Thrones, and we just binged Entourage that whole summer because that movie was about to come out, and we're like, this shit looks fucking awesome. We never watched the show, and that was still when DVDs were barely relevant, and so I saw season 1 through 5 of Entourage at Walmart one day. We just bought them all. My jaw was broke. Binged Entourage, binged Game of Thrones, but it was the big thing. I don't know. It was late night one night, and I was watching Colin, and I showed you this clip about Colin talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame being bullshit. And his main point was there has never been one player at that time in the Baseball Hall of Fame that was voted 100% in by all writers.
Nobody.
His whole thing was somebody looked at Babe Ruth's career. It was nah. I don't think he makes the cut.
Then who does? Ty Cobb. Fuck him.
I think since
he
then,
was an asshole.
I think since then there has been one. I think there has been one player that was unanimous, and I think it was Mariano Rivera.
But that's insane. Sonny Koufax. Fuck him. Nolan Ryan.
Fuck him.
Nah.
They were very good pitchers, but also
Mickey Mantle.
Fuck him. Mickey Mantle. Nah.
Oh, everybody.
Hank Aaron. Nah, he doesn't make
That's
it.
what it is. That's why it's bullshit, though. It's because, some of the writers will be
what?
They're not going to vote for Babe Ruth because they're oh, Babe Ruth's a shoe and everybody else is going to vote for Babe Ruth, so I'm not going to vote for Babe Ruth, so some other guy can get votes. But I can see that point, but also that is against the integrity of what this whole fucking thing is.
Yeah.
You can't vote based on I think somebody else is going to vote him.
If
so I'm not
those
vote
players
That's fucking
meet
bullshit.
the qualifications of everything you need to be a Hall of Famer. They have the stats, they have the popularity, they have the star power, they have the allure that brought people to the game. In live attendance, they had they had everything that you needed to build up the integrity of the game, and they still voted these players down.
Like I said,
Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth.
Don't even get me started on fucking Barry Bonds. Don't even get me started.
Well, but if you bring up Barry Bonds, up Barry Bonds, you got to bring up Sammy Sosa. You got to bring up Mark McGwire.
Barry Bonds was a bionic.
You got to bring up Roger Clemens.
And they should all be in the Hall of Fame. They should be.
I agree.
You know why?
Pete Rose. They should all be in the Hall of Fame.
Did they cheat? Maybe. Were all the home run hitters fucking on steroids? Yeah. Barry Bonds? Yeah. But he was a Hall of Famer before he was on steroids. He was a Hall of Famer with the fucking Pirates before he joined the fucking Giants. He was a fucking Hall of Fame player. Even if all
he loves Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time. He's the greatest. He is. You're an idiot. He just is. This dude literally got on base more times one year than he had at bats. There was one year where he had 5 more on. He got on base 5 times more than he had at bats. That's absurd.
You mean Reggie Stocker? That's what you mean.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, they literally.
Do you want to explain who Reggie Stocker was?
Barry Bonds was so fucking good that they could not pay him enough to keep him on the video game, so they just made up some motherfucker every year that just was Barry Bonds but had a different name.
Yeah, he was like a white guy. He was a white guy named Reggie Stocker.
And honestly,
that's not him at all then.
And I don't know the truth. I don't know the truth.
Not one bit, actually. Could at least be Barry White, or something. You could give them. You could give them the Barry or the Bonds or something, or make them black. Give them something. Fuck.
No, yeah. So like I had like the very like I had MLB baseball. I had MLB baseball like 2003 for PS1, and I feel like that was the last game Barry Bonds.
Why was that ever? I had this conversation with somebody like 2 months ago.
So Barry Bonds was in 2001 I think 2001 was the same year he broke the single season home run record and the all-time home run record. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But it was at least
the all-time like hitting
home run record. Hank Aaron, he like
in a season.
I
think it was 03.
So I know in
I think
when he broke
so he definitely broke both records. I feel like they were the same.
All-time home run record was 07, but single season record I think was 03.
07? Barry Bonds played until fucking 07?
Yeah, that's wild.
Did he really?
He only passed Hank Aaron by like 8 or 10 home runs or something like that.
I'm fucking glad he did.
Dude, I remember they pulled.
You know why?
Because he's the greatest of all time.
Dude, Hank Aaron was on fucking performance enhancers too, but it wasn't steroids, it wasn't HGH.
I'm glad.
Many people have told this story. Like back then in the 70s, they were fucking. Everybody was on back then they called them amphetamines. Today we say Adderall, but back then they had the same shit.
Fucking coke.
And apparently,
or meth.
I've heard multiple people tell Hank Aaron was on that shit. Nobody talks about that because it wasn't steroids. It was amphetamines, which is also a fucking.
I mean, it's not
enhancer.
fucking.
We've all done
beefing
them.
them
We
the fuck
know.
up.
That's gonna fucking. If you're tired of shit, you take one of those. Oh, you're back in the goddamn game really quick. So you're telling me Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame because he cheated, but so he took steroids. So what? It was the fucking steroid era.
Yeah.
Half the pitchers he hit these home runs off of were also on steroids.
But the thing is,
How is that not?
Neither is Sosa, McGuire, A-Rod, Clemens,
And
any
like
of
I
those
said,
guys.
They might not.
My
get
biggest
in
beef
ever
is not
from
with
now.
Barry Bonds being, excommunicated from baseball. My biggest fucking beef is just the Hall of Fame being bullshit in general.
Yeah. Well, he can still. Isn't he on the Giants Hall of Fame, but he's not in the MLB Hall of Fame?
Probably.
McGuire's in the Cardinals Hall of Fame, but he's not in the MLB Hall of Fame.
Here's the thing. It was the steroid era. As Buster Olney once said, you can't judge. You have to judge the players on the era they played. You can't. You look at the fucking Mount Rushmore of presidents, right? You can't judge them today based on who. If they were people today, they'd all be terrible people, right?
Because everybody'd be like, "Oh, they were slave owners."
They'd all be terrible.
Okay, but that was the fucking era.
Back then, and they were still terrible people back then. But like people were led to believe they were great, so they were like, "Oh, let's just."
Well, yeah, but if we were alive then, we would be one of those people too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You
It
cannot.
would be a different.
Regardless if they're good people or bad people or fucking mediocre people, you cannot tell the story of the United States of America without the people on Mount Rushmore, and you cannot tell the story of baseball without Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and the greatest of all time, Barry fucking Bonds. You can't do it. You can't do it.
No,
You
you gotta include them for sure. And Pete Rose, that's bullshit too.
Yeah, the Baseball Hall of Fame. Get your
Pete
shit
Rose,
together.
Pete Rose, the greatest contact hitter of all time.
Well, wasn't there a player recently who just received a lifetime ban for sports betting?
Well, yeah, but
I'm pretty sure
he was a shitty baseball player who was also a shitty gambler. Barry Bonds was probably a great baseball player and a great gambler.
But it's this guy is Barry Bonds ass kissing, man. You fucking.
I'm just like, I got the Rams hat on. I'm talking up Barry Bonds. I love it.
He's like,
I'm a natural.
There's still that.
What can I say?
I didn't know if that was the NFL or the MLB though. That was like, oh, this guy bet on games. Fucking ban him.
There's definitely been a few baseball players in the last few months that like nobody knew who the fuck they are,
but here's the thing: like, if you were to include like the Baseball Hall of Fame, wouldn't you put like Pete Rose in there on a pure stat basis?
Well, yeah,
that's what I mean.
On a pure stat basis. Fucking Pete Rose is the all-time hits leader by far.
By like literally fucking hundreds and hundreds of hits. It's insane.
By far. And
He's the
He
only
was, like,
one, I'm pretty
only-
sure, with 4,000.
yeah, he is. If you get 2,000 hits in your career, that's a goddamn good career. This
Yeah.
motherfucker had 4,000 hits in his
Over,
career.
yeah, over.
And this guy bet on his team to win games.
Yeah.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame. He didn't throw
That's
games.
the thing. He was going out there and banking on his own performance, and still they were like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit.
Anyway, Ravens, Lions, Super Bowl next year, and
Barry
and
Bonds.
yeah, Barry Bonds is the greatest of all time. So is Kanye West, and
Oh,
also, and also, yeah, Phillies, Orioles in the World Series this year. Call me. Also, Edmonton is currently down in the second game of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I thought they were going in
Who's
seventh,
the new team that they're trying to introduce into the NHL?
You're talking about the Coyotes moving from like Arizona to Phoenix, and now they're gonna be Utah in like a couple years.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The Salt Lake
City something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Salt Lake City Mormons or something like that.
But you know what's more exciting?
Salt Lake City Sinners.
You know what's more exciting than that is finally the Oakland A's are gonna have a fucking fan base in Las Vegas.
Oh shit. That actually sounds kind of cool.
It does, and I'd be pissed if I was an Oakland fan. But like,
Oh yeah.
why are you still an Oakland fan?
Billy Bean, man.
Why?
He's still
Why?
holding out hope.
Why?
Even 12 years
Bro,
after
It's
Moneyball
like
came
Billy
out.
Bean, it's over.
Dude, that was like probably the worst decision in the history of time for him not to take the Red Sox offer.
Yeah.
You should have just took that, bro.
They're like, they won 2 years later. Still
Because-
Moneyball? We talked about Alex, our last guest of this.
Phenomenal.
It's
movie.
one of the best. It's top 15 movies of all time.
in
in
top
my opinion.
in top 3 baseball movies of all time.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
there's a lot of good.
Probably
baseball
top
movies.
2 or top 1.
I think
61 was a great
61
movie,
is
too.
probably my favorite.
I don't know. I would probably take Moneyball over 61, but it was great. It was fantastic.
I would not take. The story of Moneyball itself is definitely cool, but if it weren't like Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt playing those actors, I don't think I would like that story nearly as much. Like 61 though, I still think that's.
Well, yeah. But what about Thomas Jane and fucking Barry Pepper?
Yeah, but fuck, like they're great, but like nobody knew who the fuck they were really. Like everybody knew who the fuck Brad Pitt and
Yeah,
Jonah Hill
that's
were
true.
before that
Thomas
movie.
Jane and Barry Pepper.
They
They don't
was that-
have.
was that even
They don't
before-
have the fucking hit power
Yeah, was that?
of Brad Pitt and Jonah
Was
Hill.
that-
I don't know about that. I would say going into Moneyball, people were probably people were at
What do you
least
mean?
no people were at least mixed on Jonah Hill. It's not like everybody
No,
loved
I mean,
Jonah
well,
Hill.
Yeah,
no, they
everybody
did, but they
loved
knew him.
Yeah,
They did.
nobody wanted to suck Jonah Hill's dick, but like everybody thought
Everybody
knew him
wanted to
and
suck
thought,
Brad Pitt.
yeah. He's like 60 now, and people are still trying to.
Yeah.
It's like, but no,
Well, that's
was that
probably
even
true.
before? Was that before Thomas Jane even played Punisher, or was that?
Yeah,
after?
it was before. He played
Oh,
him
yeah.
in 04, and that came out in 01.
And a lot of people shit on that. They were like, "This fucking sucks."
What? The
They were
Punisher?
harsh on it. Yeah,
That was a badass movie.
I thought it was
I
too.
thought it was.
Nowadays, I hear people just be like, "That was garbage," you know.
Well, they have shit taste.
It's just a lot of that like early to mid 2000s like movies.
I don't
feel like they
agree
shit
at
on a
all.
lot.
I thought that was badass.
I like a lot of those movies too. You know, it's that era of our
Kevin
childhood,
Nash,
man.
man, he was the Russian in
I
that
was
shit.
gonna bring that up, but I just
And he got his ass fucking whooped.
he
by the
fucking did he
Punisher.
just rip like
He like
had a bunch
ripped.
of- he had a
that-
bunch of piercings or something.
No, that
He's like-
that his roommate or whoever he was, like that. Not the Italian
Did he just
guy.
like rip somebody's eyebrow fucking ring out of
Yeah,
their
he
eye?
was just like,
my
"Oh."
God.
Yeah, that looked brutal.
And I just ripped like a huge ass chunk of skin out of his face.
Oh yeah, they took that for the fucking Frank Castle, man. Goddamn, that's loyalty. They barely even knew the guy.
Maybe Kevin Nash is at the same level as Barry Bonds for me. Maybe Kevin Nash is.
Is Kevin Nash the greatest of all time?
Dude,
for
honestly,
you?
like podcaster, like ex-wrestler podcaster, I think Kevin Nash is the GOAT. I think.
Oh man.
Me and Dom will just sit around and watch Kevin Nash videos like every time we hang out. He just he's fucking hilarious.
What did you want to? I was gonna say, what were you wanting to move on from the Super Bowl predictions?
well, shit. We
Anything you want to dabble
went
into?
to wrestling to football to some little bit of baseball.
And you had to stick up hardcore for Barry Bonds because why not? Because Reggie Stocker wasn't doing his job, man.
Oh, so they took Barry Bonds off the video games, and like as soon as the
He's
steroid
like, you gotta
allegations
pay
came out-
me, $15 million.
Why did they take him
and
off
again,
the game?
I don't know the truth behind this at all. But like whenever we were growing up, and then those basic games were like actively coming out, I feel like it was like Aaron Aaron like growing up was like Aaron and Kyle knew more sports than anybody I knew, and they still do.
Oh yeah,
He was
the
not on a
encyclopedia
game
for me.
after 2003.
No, well, so 2001, I think was the year he broke at least one of the home run records. Probably he definitely broke the single season home run record in 2001, and that was the last game I remember Barry Bonds being on. He was on the fucking cover of MLB like 2003, which I had for PS1. But this game was like 2 years in the future because once you got the 2003 version, it was like the season that was actively played was 2002, but then all the stats in that game were from 2001. So it was like Barry Bonds was like that was his last.
That's how it always is with sports games.
Well, that was the way it was back then.
Yeah, it was
But
fucking
They
atrocious.
come out like the next.
No, that was the way it was back then. It was like 2 years behind because MLB, it was like MLB Baseball 03, and then like a year or two later is when they switched to the show, which they
Oh, the show, which
skipped.
Pujols
No, the
was on the
show
cover
was
of.
way later.
No,
'Cause it
no,
wasn't-
no,
it was like
the
2009
the first
they
show.
were doing
No,
MLB
the
games.
first show I think was in 05 or 06.
Yeah, it was early.
David Ortiz was on the cover, and
Man,
So-
I thought for some
I thought
reason
Pujols
it
was on,
like in the
like,
late
Pujols
2000s.
so EA Sports used to make a baseball game in 2004.
That's what I was thinking.
It was MVP
Oh,
baseball.
that's what it was.
2004, and I had that for PS2, and Pujols was for sure on the cover, and I was probably the greatest player of all time at that game. And then 2005 came out, and Manny Ramirez was on the cover, and I was definitely the greatest player of all time at that game.
I remember that actually. MVP.
Dude, I swear to God, in one of those 2 seasons, I think it was probably 05, I played an entire 162 game season on the highest level you could play, and I won like 118 games. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the best player ever at this fucking game.
The
But even-
games you lost, you were probably like,
Oh, dude.
motherfucker!
It's like I lost in the 9th inning on some like fucking error or some shit. Anyway, so Barry Bonds was on the cover of MLB Baseball 2003, but those stats in that game were reflective of the 2001 season. And when that game came out, it was in 2002, so they were a year ahead. They used to be a year ahead. And then once they transitioned into the show, which MLB Baseball was different from MVP Baseball. MVP Baseball was EA Sports, the same ones that do Madden and then NHL games. And then 989 Sports back in the day did the MLB games before, but they had a game, and then also EA Sports had a game. And then Barry Bonds was on the cover of 03, and that was like probably the last baseball game I had for PS1. So his like historic 2001 season was in there when he set at least the single season record, and maybe the you probably didn't set the all-time record. If you played till 06, yeah, he definitely didn't set the all-time record.
He played in 07, Barry Bonds.
But after 2003, he was never. I don't think he was on any game ever after that.
No.
And also, they made MVP Baseball was not around after 05. EA Sports stopped making baseball games. And then there was a year where it was like they did MLB Baseball 05 or 06. But then they came out with The Show. That's when The Show started. And then it was like they did either MLB 06 and then released an MLB 06 The Show. So they did that to like compensate for that like 2 years ahead of time they were. So they brought it like a year back. And now it's like, it used to be like 2 years in the future. It was like, okay, we have the stats in this game from 2 years ago, but it's the current season, is 2002 in the game, but we're calling it MLB 03. And then like a few years later, they like corrected that back to where like the proper year of the game would come out at the same time as like the actual year they were in. So I think 1 year it went from like MLB 05 or MLB 06 to MLB 05 or MLB 06 The Show. And so they just like they closed that gap, and then MVP Baseball was no longer made, and it was just MLB. And Barry Bonds was never on a fucking game again after MLB 03, which I had for PS fucking 1.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
Yeah.
PS1 was fire, though.
Yeah.
Dude, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I remember playing that on PS1 all the time. Just that I busted that out whenever I lived
had
with
a
my
badass
parents.
soundtrack, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. I like the last couple of years I lived with my parents, I like busted out the PS1 and we still had Tony Hawk.
Dude.
And I didn't like play anything. I just like skated around the skate park and busted through the windows and like did tricks and shit.
You just like take
like,
your,
man,
take
this
your
is a good
board
time.
and bash it through the windows. Yeah.
You could like just ride through them too, which is just so unrealistic.
Nick made like a Bob Burnquist reference the other night.
Bob
like, you remember
Burnquist was
Bob
so
Burnquist?
fucking
He's like,
fire.
do I look like Bob Burnquist with these glasses? And I'm just like, yeah, you're just a terrible skater.
Oh, dude, Bob Burnquist was
Dude.
fantastic.
They always fucking rode those like blind
Dude,
boards and shit.
dude, me and Nick and Nathan were so into skating for like a year or two, and we were all just dog
No, it was
shit.
fun.
But what's
Dude, yeah,
hilarious?
it's one of those things I feel like it takes a minute to like get pretty good at. And people that get good at it, they like master that shit though.
Dude, it's so hard.
It was
Yeah,
fun.
dude,
Going to like
You
Festus
gotta
skate
like
park.
accept that you're gonna get fucked up if you're gonna skate.
Going to
And
like
if
Festus
you're
skate park. that was
ever
fun.
gonna be any good at it, like you have to prepare yourself to be fucked up.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna eat shit a
Yeah, you're
lot
like you gotta eat
until you
shit
get
to
this
learn.
fucking trick right.
Yeah, there's no
dude,
denying it.
Andy was like still probably a really good skateboarder. Fucking absurd. Like there was like whenever I was a kid, I would always like every time we saw him like at here for like Christmas or something, I'd be like he'd only show up like every other year, and I would just like always ask Aunt Karen like, is Andy a pro skater yet, or what's going on? Andy could be a pro skater. Like I legit thought he was gonna be a pro skater.
He's still affiliated with Infinity Skate
Dude, there's
Shop.
this guy on our softball team. His name's Randy. That like apparently like was signed under Tony Hawk, and like is like one of the guy that runs the softball team was telling me like he's like the best skater to ever come out of St. Louis, and he's our third baseman, and he like still like runs with Infinity. But yeah, Andy was fucking really good. I remember like always looking up to Andy when we were kids, and like he was a few years older than me, so like when we were around, he was always like, oh, fuck my little cousins. Like, nah, I don't think he said that, but he was just never around. But I remember
That's
like
just the
literally
oldest
every time.
cousin mentality.
I remember just like every time like we had like a family thing, and I was just like always trying to hang out with Andy, and he was just like only around for half of it. And every time he wasn't there, I was just kind of like sad. Kinda like, fuck man, I want to learn about skating. I want to learn about fucking Slipknot. I want to learn about Juggalos. I want to.
You're like, yeah, I want to be cool.
Yeah. No, I thought Andy
Yeah.
was the coolest. I still think Andy's the coolest. But yeah, he was a really good skater. And me and Nick and Nathan, like, dude, for like when we were in junior high, skating was so big, and we all got super into it. It was hip. It was cool. We all got the shoes. We all got like the cool shit. And then when we actually skated, we were so fun, just so bad, so bad. And so
Everybody
I
was.
originally got that video. This is the fun part. Is I just told this story like yesterday at the bar. I'm like, we got this fucking camera because we were trying to videotape our skate footage because we all thought we were fucking gonna get sponsored. We thought we were good. We were terrible. We would probably have fucking 50 hours of skate footage. I bet we landed a total of 10 tricks and all that footage. Like, we were shit. We're terrible.
You send it
Terrible.
in to whatever company
Terrible.
and be like, yeah, I'm not
Absolutely
watching that.
terrible. But the great thing about me getting this video camera, because I wanted to fucking get sponsored and be in this skate team, and just was what happened was I got that camera and with the intention to film skate footage and to be professional skaters. And you know what we ended up doing with that fucking camera?
Yep.
Filming goddamn home wrestling videos.
Yep.
And life was never the same after that.
Do you
it's
guys,
always-
Dude, I literally have almost every match we ever did.
Do you guys want to enter the
camera.
good, the bad, the shits?
Yeah.
When are we talk about this? Because we got a little bit of time still, but I'm like, this will be a good time to throw this out there. Actually, leading right into that. Oh my God! Somebody broke a mic off in somebody's ass.
I definitely
You broke a spring.
it's like I cracked the knuckle of the cord this microphone is attached to. Is what happened.
Speaking of that though, I would say you know, and we all have this in common, obviously. So, well, this is Corey's first edition of the good, the bad, and the shits. So let's just throw this topic out there as the first one.
Dude, I feel like I need to do another tequila shot before I answer any of these questions.
Go for it.
So the way this segment works, if you're new to this and you've never heard an episode before,
Which I know all of you are because you're all tuning in to hear me, right?
we usually judge our topics on a scale of overrated, underrated, or fair as perceived by your perception or the societal perception overall.
You know
So
what? I feel
whatever you assume overall the case is with.
I feel like you could play it safe and just say everything's fair, or you can just be.
Well, I think it's
It depends.
interesting if you can give a comprehensive good answer for it being fair, but also it's fun to say you have a strong passionate opinion about something being overrated or underrated.
This was the one segment I was like, I wouldn't even say prepared for because I honestly have no idea what you're about to ask me. We've never discussed any of this off air, which is great.
No,
'Cause
no.
I
This
can't-
is the one that I wrote down. And I didn't know if I was going to use, but I was
Because
like, this plays right into this, so it's a good
Because I
time.
can't wait to
introduce it.
give the most genuine response I can. But if I'm not going to answer fair for anything, because what fun would that be?
Well, this is something we can all contribute to, and if we really wanted to, we could spend a long time on. But in the interest of keeping the episode, we should probably talk about it, discuss what
Yeah,
we
we
think.
don't have to get through that many topics.
And we could talk about a few each, though, at least.
Yeah,
It-
we
you
can
know,
at
at
least
least.
one apiece.
it-
We'll see
you
how
know,
it goes.
yeah,
we'll
we'll
see
just
how
see
it
how it
goes.
Okay, but so on the scale of overrated, underrated, or fair, on Corey's first time on the segment, let's throw this one out there. And this applies to all of us. So what do you guys think of the basically, I guess you can say the importance of it, or you can just say in general, but the backyard wrestling era of our lives. Overrated, underrated, or fair? Because that had a lot to do with who we are now and
And
the path it led us on, I feel like.
that is the thing that completed the most of my personality before, I don't know, I graduated high school probably.
Yeah, it gave me a chance to
That was
play
that was my
character.
only identity. It was like, Corey used to be a good baseball player, and then he got to high school and he sucked. Corey used to be
Doing
good.
that.
Corey used to be good at school, and then he went to 6th grade, and he just became a defiant piece of shithead to his teachers. And then wrestling. Corey's just gonna become the fucking random ass backyard wrestling guy who holds fucking random events in his yard with his brother. And we were just known as the crazy bastards of our fucking time, I think, for that. And I love it. I fucking love it. I say underrated. You know what? For a few of those shows, we had close to 100 people at a few of those shows.
Oh, yeah.
We should have had fucking 300 at those shows. We fucked each other up, man. We fucked each other up, especially me and you.
Yeah.
Because we had been doing that shit for years, and we're like, if I fuck up my brother, oh well.
Before
He'll
we
be
even
alright.
did One Last Breath, or we had that last match. Well, I guess I should say it wasn't the last one because we did the GTW stuff together. But before we had the One Last Breath match, we had already been doing it with each other for more than 10 years.
Yeah, but before that, we had not wrestled in at least 3 years, probably.
We
literally did not script out like any of that.
No, it was before One Last Breath. We hadn't wrestled in
Probably since 09.
probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Because from 2006 to 2009, we were steady wrestling.
Yeah.
A few times a week.
Yeah.
Between me, you, Harry, Cheatham, especially us four. We were
Yeah.
wrestling. We used to shoot fucking matches in the basement every day, and it was just like me versus you, me versus Harry, me versus Cheatham.
once in a while,
you versus
Jason.
Cheatham, you versus Harry, Harry versus Cheatham.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while, Jason and Tyler Schmidt would get involved.
Well, who the fuck would we be right now without Tyler Schmidt?
I know.
The unsung hero.
You know what was wild is we ran into him some random party. I want to say me, Ethan, maybe a few other people. I don't know if Elijah was there or not, but me, Ethan, Atkins. In some random party in like 2015 that we went to, Tyler Schmidt was there. Like, and I was like, holy shit, I haven't seen this dude in fucking like 5 or 6 years.
I can't remember even the last time I saw him, but I know like a few like our last few matches we had, or like the last few shows we ran, he would hit me up on Facebook like, dude, I'm coming. Like,
I haven't seen you guys in forever, like.
Yeah.
And he was like there the night we started this fucking backyard wrestling shit.
It was you and him.
And
it was the first EHW match.
And it was literally basement wrestling at that time.
Yeah.
And
Before it was backyard.
Yeah. And yeah. What a wild time.
That was December 31st, 2005.
Yeah. First ever unofficially at the time. So the first promotion we had as our backyard promotion was actually in our basement. And we had the first, I guess we backtracked time to call it our first official EHW match, but it was randomly just, my mom used to just throw a random New Year's party every year. And it was just one year, it was like the year I got like the camera for skating, like a week before for Christmas. And then me and Tyler and Timothy were just like the oldest kids hanging out that night. And we're just like, let's fucking film a wrestling match. And me versus Tyler. And because Timothy was like, what, 2 years younger than Tyler?
I was like 9.
Yeah, way smaller than both of us. And me and Tyler just randomly did this fucking match. And we just didn't even make it a thing. We were just like, we're going to have a random match in our basement. And then we did that. And then like a week, like next week, me and him and Harry started wrestling in the basement. And then we like created this whole federation and like backtracked. We're like, that was the first ever EHW title match. And Tyler Schmidt beat Corey. And now Corey's pissed. And now me and Timothy and Harry are the only other 3 wrestlers in our organization. And then we just like, it just became a thing from there. And we stopped skating and we just started wrestling every fucking day in our backyard. Mm-hmm. Or no, in our basement. Until there was this one pay-per-view we did where Tyler Smirger threw me into the wall in my room and I somersaulted into my bed and kicked a hole through the wall. Yeah. And then luckily our stepdad was not at home that night because he probably would have killed me.
Now 06 we did have a little bit of intercepting from skating and wrestling though.
Yeah, wrestling was like destructive.
It's like we did like a year of matches in our basement before I kicked the hole through the wall, and then I like made up some story where it's like I accidentally like was trying to hang a poster in my room and my knee fell through the wall. Obviously.
Obviously.
Oh
fuck!
Obviously, my mom
on this bed, just
obviously that was clearly a story that sounded great to a 12-year-old, but terrible to their parents. So my mom was like, "Yeah, that's bullshit." My stepdad was like, "Yeah, that's bullshit. No more wrestling in the house." And we're like, "Fuck! You just ruined our whole company. You just ruined
our whole." Nobody else's basement worked. I'd be like, somebody else got a basement. You gotta fucking keep this going.
What we did, I was just like, all right, no more wrestling inside. All right, Harry.
Yeah.
Me and Harry.
I almost forgot that's why we went outside.
Me and Harry, like, it was literally like January 4th, like 2008. And me and Harry, it's cold as shit.
Yeah, cold as a mother.
And me and Harry just go outside and just fuck each other up outside one day.
Yeah.
And Timothy filmed the whole thing, and it was like, all right, well, I guess we're having all the matches outside now.
Man, you like punished Harry outside. Fucking, you like rolled him onto a steel chair and shit. Oh man, that shit was fucked up.
Man, I feel like it was
just looks like child abuse now. Just like dark footage of a little kid.
What's hilarious is
getting his ass beat by an older kid.
Harry was already prepared for it though. Harry was well prepared for this because for years Harry would come over to our house like every summer break and every winter break. And him and Timothy had been friends since kindergarten. And I was just like the older brother. Like Harry had like an older brother and sister.
Corey
were like way older.
The hell out of everybody.
Oh, dude, Harry. Dude, there was years before we even had a camera where we would just fuck each other up for fun. Like, it was mainly like I was 3 years older, and obviously at that age,
you had to cheat. You like I can fucking hit some body slams.
Being 3 years older at that age is a lot different than being 3 years older now. Yeah. So I'm just fucking up my brother and his little friend.
It was bad because like, you hit your like growth spurt.
Fucking hit a power bomb.
You hit your like growth spurt and you were like 15 and you're like fucking me and Harry up. We were like 12.
Just throwing these little assholes around fucking all summer. Like there in every winter because like Harry's mom fucking had a job. Our mom just literally babysit. So like she would babysit Harry. And Harry would just be like, I don't want to go over there anymore. Corey's going to throw a fucking thing of ice in my fucking face.
There was this one match we had where like we had that aluminum like swimming pool. And it was just like
Oh,
after a snowstorm, there's just hella icicles and just ice on this pool. And we're just like ripping these icicles off, and I was just like chucking them at Harry. And this is before we even had a camera for this footage. This is just we were just doing this for fun.
That was bad. You remember that? You remember that match? You remember that match that we
It's like
had?
there's no reason to go that hard.
No,
You're just
there is literally no footage or highlight video of this. This is just me being 3 years older and a dickhead little fucking teenager
It's like,
hanging around little kids. Like I'm gonna fuck my brother up and his friend. Fuck this shit.
Do you
I
remember
get
when
that though.
we
I've
had
been
that?
on the receiving end with my brother and his friends.
Do you remember when we had that like real, quote unquote, that real match with like you and Justin versus Cheatham and Zach Adams versus me and Harry, and like Cheatham just gave Justin a pretzel for, for like a fucking hour?
Yeah, because before we were smart enough to like before we were smart enough to script these matches.
Recently was so like
Justin was like 4.5
he brought
feet
that
tall
up,
at the time.
dude. He was like,
He was probably smaller than that.
He was like, Cheetah walked me in the Boston Crab for like half a fucking hour. He's like, he fucked my back up permanently. It's still fucked up.
20 years later, he's still ain't been to the chiropractor. Jesus Christ.
He's like, yeah, you fucking sat on me and gave me the pretzel.
Yeah, that's
Dude, have an older brother.
dude. Yeah, having an older brother's
yeah.
a son of a bitch.
I will
sometimes.
never know how that feels, but I bet it's not great.
Oh man, that shit was
it's
too
it's
fucking funny.
tormenting sometimes, but it's also hilarious to like tell the stories later.
We like really fucking, and then Corey like celebrated at the end with him and Justin having the belts, even though Justin was like the first motherfucker eliminated.
Oh yeah.
He was
Because
probably like
he couldn't survive.
out there barely standing.
We had like legit.
He was like, he was so young. Dude, Cheatham fucked him up.
Fucked up a 6-year-old's back permanently and got him out here holding the paper belt.
Dude, Cheatham fucked him up, and he was like fucking 6 to 7.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Well, that was the thing. We put like me and Cheetah would be in opposite teams of like Timothy and Justin, just so we could like guilt free just fuck them up. Honestly, I barely remember this thing you're talking about, but it sounds. I bet it's definitely.
Oh no,
true.
it definitely. It was like a shoot match.
Somebody should have locked Cheetah in the
Before we
fucking
had
Boston
him.
Crab for half an hour. That's goddamn bullying. You can't lock someone. You can't lock a 6-year-old in
either
the
of us-
fucking Boston Crab.
Dude, Justin was like crying. Fucking.
If any of us were
We're
locked
making Cheetah
in a
sound
Boston Crab
fucking
right now
horrible.
for that long, we would probably just go paralyzed. You
No.
can only do that to a 6-year-old kid. And
This
not
is in
paralyze somebody.
2006, man. Goddamn. This is bad.
Like right before I got my
You do
camera.
that to somebody that's 30, they're fucking
Oh
paralyzed.
yeah, exactly. If any of us locked in a Boston Crab right now and the other one, we'd probably for that long, we'd for sure not be able to go to work tomorrow.
Dude, Justin, like, that was rough, man. Ah!
And he's out there at the end. Holding
And
the
yeah, he's
fucking
like
belt.
holding the belt like he just won something. He didn't make a motherfucker in there tap out, or he didn't pin him.
He just took all the heat.
You guys didn't give him a goddamn chance.
Well, I mean, to
You
be
probably
fair,
didn't even let him do any dope Mysterio type
Dude,
shit.
well,
He didn't hit any
this
This was a
dropkicks.
shoot
Here's the
match.
thing, back then we didn't have the camera. There was nothing was being recorded. We were not scripting.
No,
anything.
we were like,
just
this was
fucking-
like
we were just
doing
like, hey,
moves and
let's
shit,
just
and
have a
fucking each
wrestling
other
match,
up.
and we know this shit's fake, but
You
we're
guys
gonna
were just
keep it
like,
pretty
you
real.
were just going for it.
Yeah. This was like moves, but like we were shooting. This time. It was not
Yeah, if I
recorded.
was Justin and I was 6, I'd be like, I'm out. I don't want any part of
You
it.
didn't have the wherewithal or understanding.
Justin, you've always been soft, you ginger fuck.
I mean, I get it, because I was
Oh,
like
man.
6 years younger than like 6.5 years younger than my brother, so it was like, him and his friends were older, and I always wanted to be involved, but it typically was
It
just
definitely always involved you getting your ass kicked.
me being the fucking, just the whipping fucking mule in
yeah.
whatever scenario, like, happened to be. Like, I just remember my brother's friends
It's the price you pay for growing up in the Attitude Era, bro.
just holding me down one time. Like, my brother, like, tackled me in the yard, and his friend just, like, grabbed this potted plant that we had, and it was a cactus. And, like, he didn't realize that there was no, like, roots in a cactus. He thought that it was, like, rooted. So he just, like, had it over me, like, oh, like he was gonna, like, get me with it, but it just, like, rolled out of the fucking pot and just landed right on my goddamn
Just stab you in the fucking eyeball.
Oh my god.
So you got
They fucking bullied you,
so
man.
you had a handicap
Yeah.
match against your brother and his friend who were both 5 years older than you.
6. Almost 7. Yeah.
That's
But, like,
awesome.
then later on in life, I got it because, like, my friend Aaron, he had a younger brother that was, like, 6 years younger. And it was a grand time, dude, because he would just want to hang out, and I didn't, like, mind him being around. It was like, yeah, fuck yeah, Mason can hang out. But, like, when we were on the trampoline and we were all, like, bouncing around, I'm like, dude, this guy's tiny as fuck. I'm hitting him with a suplex and a power bomb and shit, It's like he's small as shit. He's throwing this guy around. Me and Aaron tormented that kid. And I look back on it now and I'm like, I feel like that was some repressed shit from me. I'm like, I got this shit. Now I'm going to fucking dish it out. Good times, though,
I feel sorry for everybody who did not grow up in the Attitude Era.
What do you guys think though about that era's impact on our lives? I mean, like, you don't have to answer. You can give a little power.
I said underrated. I stick with underrated. There, like I said,
it influenced a lot.
We had a few
for sure.
fucking shows where we had like damn near 100 people there. Definitely the show after you got out of the hospital washout. There was easily fucking
the One
70 or
Last
80
Breath
people.
show.
One Last Breath.
The One Last Breath show and
also that show went on for like 8 fucking hours. There was people like it was mid-July. People just sweating their asses off within getting there for 10 minutes.
They were like they were gonna hang out and just watch the whole show
for like
apart.
6 hours longer.
One Last Breath, Washout, and Foundation 2 were the largest crowds we ever drew. That was like 70 to 85 between all of those.
In a
like
backyard.
at different times.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I had 44 matches as an independent professional wrestler. And I swear to God, those 3 shows outdrew half the crowds I wrestled in front of on the fucking indie circuit.
Yeah, it was intimidating at times.
Dude.
Like, walking out there, you're like I remember One Last Breath specifically, and even the one before that we did, that because we drew like 60, 70 at that one even, where it was kind of like the one before we took the year break and came back. We had a pretty.
There was more
big
at Redemption than Grand Finale, though.
Yeah, but yeah, that's because those were the biggest crowds you do to that point too. And I just remember being like, there's actually a fuckload of people out here. There's people like standing up on the decks.
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
There's like chairs all around the ringside area
Yeah.
and shit. I'm like, damn, that's actually kind of wild to think about that there's this many people that are gonna watch this goddamn match right
Dude,
now.
we had a fucking like we were almost like a cult in fucking Hillsborough. We were like the wrestling fucking cult. Like we had this like a secret following of people that were like, oh,
Yeah, it was like a
we don't
speakeasy.
really like wrestling, but we love all these guys and we'd love to watch them fuck each other
Yeah,
up.
it's
Yeah,
like
they want to see us fucking smash dowel rods and steel
Yeah.
chairs over each other and fucking
Fight
fight,
too.
dude.
Well,
and
especially like
shit.
every time, especially like the last couple times we wrestled in front of people because we wrestled a lot, but like never in front of anybody. It was usually just like
Yeah.
hairy.
Well, the in the house stuff we didn't wrestle in front of really anybody.
And like every match we had in front of people, we hardly like, never scripted anything. It was just like we just wrestled each other so many times before that where I could literally do anything to you and you just trust me to just do
That
fucking
was
just
your
chuck
guys,
you.
in your house days. Those were
Mhm.
your guys in your house pay-per-views. Were the
Dude,
ones
we
that
did a
were
lot of
literally
stuff.
in your house.
We did a lot of stuff even in between like 06 and 09. We had a shitload of matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And then we didn't
In
wrestle
front
each
of
other.
nobody.
We didn't wrestle each other again from 09 till One Last Breath.
But those two matches we had, like the one at One Last Breath and the GW one, were like,
Yeah.
we were like making this shit so real, and they're like, oh, they're brothers. They're probably kind of at least a little mad at each other. I was like,
That was good.
and
that
then
was
we
good
get up there, and
storytelling.
like you could tell, like some people wrestle each other and like, you know, hold back, and me and Tim would just go out there and just beat the piss out of each other, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I remember, like he had never front flipped on me ever. Like I used to do that. I used to be the flip guy. I'd jump off the pool ladder 10 times in front of nobody just for fun, just to get one good shot on camera.
Oh yeah, we used
And
the
then
pool
there was like the mat. Me and Timmy, we literally didn't even. I didn't think we scripted the fucking finish at one. Last
No, that
We
wasn't
literally
scripted
just-
at all. I wasn't gonna
we were
flip at
literally
all.
Just like, I forget what happened. Like I did a flip and you moved, and I probably hit the trash can, or is that
Yeah.
what you did?
No, you moved. You moved and
No,
you hit it.
No, you landed on me because you were.
I
Like,
landed on
'cause
you and
were
it took the breath out
That
of
was
you.
the first time Tim ever did a flip, and he was like, I landed, he moved, I like landed on the trash can, and I was like, I took a good bump, and like I'm sure it hurt, but I don't remember it. I was just selling, and Tim's like, I think I'm gonna do a swanton bomb on you, and I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And he fucking swanton the shit out of me.
Just feel
Like
it.
always,
He's
like
Yeah.
I don't even think he landed his ass on the other side of me. I think he just landed his ass right in the middle of my fucking chest. But luckily, he was
Yeah.
like 40 pounds lighter than me back then. So he just pulls his swanton out of his ass for the first time ever at this show.
Live
I'm like,
in front
yeah.
of the 80 fucking people.
And I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be the finish. I don't think we can top that.
I don't even think I covered you. I think I had like one arm still kind of on you, and then they just started counting, and then that was it. Because I was like, there's nothing else I have in the bag. We went for like 40 minutes before that, and I was like, that has to be the end.
Remember when the fucking cops showed up because Ricky accidentally called the cops from his phone?
That was during the
That's
Mr.
right.
California match.
While he was repping
That was that
back.
show, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was when we used the lightsabers in that match with the
Oh,
force
the
with the force
scorpions?
choke slam. Yeah. The Mr.
It was
California
it was the Crossbone Gang and the
and Mr. California and the
Santa Barbara Squad.
and well the Dream, the California Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember
Damn.
fucking Nick and Dalton had that ladder match to open the show right after I did like the opening promo.
Yeah, that they had a pretty good match too.
Oh, they did. I fired them up all fucking day because they were both like so nervous. And like I don't think I'd ever like wrestled on a show with either of them before that. And I was just like,
No.
Well,
All
that
right.
dude, we all just like that was the problem with that show though, is we all wanted to go like
All out.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're like this is
Well, that's
probably this could be
well,
it.
that's why
I
seven.
remember like
Oh, it was.
That's
me
why
and
seven
Brendan were
matches
like,
took, like,
the
10
end of
hours.
our show was gonna like the end of our match. Like I was like, this could really fuck me up, but I was like, this might be it. So let's just pour all the fucking tacks on the table, throw me off from the top of the ladder. It didn't work. Then I fucking had to I splashed onto him off of the ladder through the table and it didn't work. And then he had to F5 me as we were both on top of the table. And that's how we finally broke it. It was like, Jesus Christ.
Who did you wrestle at One Last Breath?
It was Brendan.
Brendan, yeah.
I just remember you wrestling.
And then it was Stevens, Ethan,
Yeah,
me, you.
I
Yeah.
was gonna talk about. I was thinking. I remember Elijah opening either the last or the second to last GTW show against Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah, he opened the last one against Stevens.
That still might be my favorite, backyard match I ended up ever doing, just because we actually, kind of planned that one
Dude,
out.
I wish
planned
all the ones me and Dom did over the years at his house we had on camera. We did so many.
That's what
fucking
he said
matches.
too whenever he was on.
Like, dude, we never scripted shit out either, man. We just always just came up with the best shit. Like even that Halloween match where I broke my wrist, we literally script. And you go back and watch the YouTube video; it's still fucking out there.
He said
Corey Roberts versus Jack
Yeah.
Harwell. I think 10/30, 2010 when I broke my wrist.
I believe whenever Don was on, didn't he say that he's like sometimes I really wish we had those filmed, but he said that it kind of holds.
Well, yeah, because
He holds them in regard in a way that they weren't filmed
because
at the time he didn't want them filmed.
Yeah,
But he kind of wishes looking back that
Right.
they were.
and that's the thing. We both are like, yeah, we wish we had footage of that because we remember it so
Yeah.
fucking perfect. But if we had the footage and we watched it back, we'd be like, oh, we fucked up there. We fucked up there. We could have done that better.
But it would be fun if you had the footage of
Yeah.
all of it.
Well, there was
You know
one
what I'm saying?
Halloween.
You'd be
I think the Halloween before I broke my wrist, he dressed up as NW or Wolfpack Sting, and he had the full fucking red face paint on and the Sting shit.
and I showed up and we fucked each other up, dude. There was like 10 hay bales, and we fucked each other up. And there's just like this one match where like we were like wrestling around my car, and I like slammed his head on my fucking hood or some shit. And then somebody's like, "Get in the car, drag him with the car." And I like just so happened I think I left my keys in my car, so I got my fucking keys out and started the car, and literally had my door open, and just I had like Dom's hair in my hands, but then of course he grabbed me by the wrist, so it looks like I'm dragging him by the hair, but he's not getting like his hair pulled. And I literally start my car and drive it down his gravel driveway as I'm just dragging his ass, and people are just eating it up. And just like none of this is planned at all. And this is the same match where he dressed up like Wolfpack Sting, and I think there was like there was a bonfire and a shitload of hay bales, and we did the car spot. I remember. I think he did the finish was he was going to do a Canadian destroyer on me. And he fucking did. And that was the finish, but we never had it on camera. So I don't know how it looked, but it seemed cool as shit. And I think like the next, like I stayed the night that night, and me and Trevor was always like wanted to wrestle. And like there would be some days where he wrestled me with me and Dom, he'd be like all into it. But like Trevor was always a little more timid. And like some days he'd just be like, I'm not really feeling it like today. But like the next day after he watched mine and Dom's match, he's like, we woke up and Trevor's like, "I want to wrestle you, Corey." I'm like, all right, let's fucking go. And we fucked each other up too. And like at that point, Trevor was like, that was like his first match he had where he was just like, dude, that felt great. Like we just fucked each other up, dude. Like fun shit, dude. Like again, I wish we had it on video, but I know if we had it on video, it wouldn't be held in the same regard. Probably exactly like Dom was saying.
Yeah, it's not the memory anymore, because then you can go back and kind of relive it.
You're gonna nitpick it.
Like that nostalgia of having that moment just in your head.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all of our shows up to a point. Like I remember Tyler, the last time he was here, showed me that mine and his last match at GTW was like, somebody had a film of it. I was like, oh fuck! Like I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that our match was out there on film or anything.
There's still film. I think Dom
I had
still
no
has
backyard
the entire
matches.
match of our washout match, and I've never seen the footage, but that's still probably my favorite match I ever did, and that includes anything I did on the indies, just because the whole fucking backstory of it and everything. Because I think originally the plan was for you to like show up that night unexpectedly as like and fuck somebody over. I think was the original plan. Like I think me and Dom were supposed to have a match still, but you were supposed to like come back and either fuck me over or fuck him over, and either join me or go against me. And then I think it was gonna be like you and Dom had a feud and me and Ethan had a feud. But then you fucking got hit by a car, and we had to change that whole plan.
Yeah, I think Dom wanted me and him to work, is what I had heard from.
Because you guys had wrestled a few times just as like spur of the moment matches at his house, and like he was like pretty happy about it.
Yeah. We had one match in MWF actually that I went over, and then we had one match in his backyard that he went over.
Yeah,
and we had really had
you and Ethan had wrestled quite a bit. But me and Dom had wrestled quite a bit more, and it was like, all right, well, let's split me and you up, and like Dom will work with you, and I'll work with Ethan. And then I think the original plan for Washout was for him to go over, and for you to interfere somehow and either, I guess, fuck him over, like try to help me and fuck him over. I think the plan was for me and you to be heels. I think is what the plan was, and it was like mainly Dom's crowd, like. When it first started, it was like, okay, we don't know how many people are going to show up here. It's going to be mostly Dom's friends. And Dom's friends want Dom to be the fucking good guy. So we're like, all right. And that's how it was. That's basically how I became a villain, was like, I would go over to Dom's house, and it was all Dom's friends again, and then me, which I knew everybody there, but I didn't really hang out with anybody there. Like, they were all Dom's friends. So it was like, he was always the good guy, and that's how I, like, became the heel. And I think the plan was for me and you to be heels, and for Ethan and Dom to be faces, and for you and Dom to have a fucking program, and for me and Ethan to have a program,
Mm.
and then you had to go and get hit by a car and fuck all that up.
It kind of set the stage for a lot of interesting things to happen.
No, it
though.
for sure did. I mean, everything.
Well, and also Dom went into professionally training at that point too.
Well, yeah,
So he stopped wrestling in the backyard.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the last few shows.
Because we all, like, that was the only dream we ever had, was like, we want to be wrestlers. Like, when I was younger, I wanted to be a baseball player, but then I got to a certain point where, like, okay, I'm short as shit. I was good in junior high, but I am terrible at high school. I cannot hit the ball. Me and Dom both want to be wrestlers. And then once we got to the point where, like, okay, we never really put anything in action to pursue this plan. And of course our families wouldn't support it after high school. No, go to college, right? And then it was like we started, a few years went by, and it was an afterthought at that point, like, oh, I guess we're not going to be wrestlers. And then we started fucking doing the backyard shit, and me and Dom were like, alright, we really love this shit. It's time to go train for real. And if Dom hadn't started training, I probably would never started training. Yeah, I think he only had, 2 matches in GTW before he started training professionally. And then he was, like, still around for it, but he didn't wrestle after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they faced. I know I was there once
Yeah,
when he
because
faced you.
once you.
Yeah, it was a washout. That was a washout.
That was the biggest. That was probably
That Foundation 2 was pretty big though
the
too.
only crowd. I think it was Foundation 2, washout, and then that.
Yeah,
last,
it was one
that
last.
last
Those were
one.
the 3 biggest crowds we ever had.
That and
I didn't perform at washout, but that was whenever I was in a wheelchair.
Yeah. So
There was at least 70 there.
I feel like I counted at least 70 or 80 at one point when we were there. Like,
One Last Breath, I think it was at least.
but also
Probably 80-ish.
but also that was twice as long as washout.
And then fucking
all fucking
20
day
of them
long.
left after mine and your match.
Washout was in fucking March, and there was like 4 matches, and One Last Press was in fucking July, and it was like
Yeah.
8 matches, and all of them went twice the length as the GTW matches. But still, it was like you guys were. Was that your senior year of high school or junior year of high school?
Of what?
When we did One Last Breath.
I was graduated for 2 years.
Oh, you already graduated?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that was 2016. You graduated 14. But yeah, that was nothing.
Those had to have been the 3
that was
biggest
my
crowds,
my
though.
first backyard match.
We built up Foundation 2 fucking heavily though too.
Yeah.
So that ended up drawing at least 70, 75.
Well, yeah, because the show right before that was whenever you like tried to help me, but then fucked me over.
His summer war.
And then the show before
That crowd was like one of the hottest.
that
though.
was because that finish was fire as
yeah.
fuck.
We
I wonder who booked that finish.
that could not have been executed better.
Dude, because
than
the
it
show
was.
because the show before that, it was just like the most bullshit thing ever. Ended the show and everybody was pissed.
Yeah.
Because I literally just retained the title on a counter.
Because I did get involved in that.
It was against Ethan, wasn't it? I wrestled Ethan,
and then I
and
attacked
then
Ethan
you literally
at the end.
attacked Ethan, and then it just rolled me out of the ring, and then I just
And then
kept.
it was
I
over.
lost the match, but kept the title on a 10 count.
It's honestly funny that we ended a backer wrestling show with a count out.
It is hilarious. That's what's like. I remember
It's like fuck you.
I remember specifically, like, there's obviously a lot of our audience like has no idea about wrestling, so
No,
they're like,
they
what the-
didn't.
What
what
do
the
you
fuck
mean
just
it's
happened?
over?
What do you
Yeah.
mean it's over? Oh, Corey just lost the match but kept the title. And
We
you
were
guys
literally
stand
like,
there how does that
what?
work? Like, oh, well, the champion can't lose his title on disqualification. So, of course, the heel would just have his brother roll him out of the ring, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he
Yeah, we
loses the
all
match, but
understood
he's
what
still
was
the champion.
happening.
Yeah. And, like, I remember specifically, like, Pressy's mom was pissed. It was, like, the first show she went to, and she was just eating it up. And she was like, what? That's fucking bullshit! And everybody was just, like, so mad that that's how the show ended. And then the next show, we kind of, like, teased the same ending. I remember I came up with the whole finish. I was like, we're gonna play this exactly like the last show. We're gonna have Tim act like he's gonna roll me out of the fucking ring, but I believe we made the stipulation where if I lost or if I got disqualified in that show, I would lose the belt.
Well, I was about to hit
then you had
Ethan
to
with
knock-
the chair.
So then you had to knock out the ref before you even got involved. So we knocked Pressy out of the ring,
Yeah.
and then you came in Ethan with a chair, and I was right behind him, and you fucking owned me with
Yeah,
that
that
chair.
was perfect.
That you fucking destroy. I still watch. That clip is still in my
That
mind.
was
I
such a
still
perfect
watch that
clip.
clip every year. It comes up with my Snap memories. I watch that clip like 100 times. I'd be like, oh
People
my
actually
God.
reacted to every single thing that happened at the end.
So you
That was
fucking miss
great.
Ethan with a chair, own me with a chair, and then Ethan fucking hits the finisher on you, and then he goes out of the ring, rolls press you back into the ring to fucking win the title against me, just to lose it back to me the next show.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Ethan.
Hey, well, he had to go back off to college. He fucking
And
surrendered
he won
the
it
belt.
for a minute.
Shit. Mayhem. Mayhem.
You're the only
Mayhem.
you're the only 2-time GTW World Champion.
I'm the Barry Bonds of backyard wrestlers.
So you
What?
fucking
So
took steroids and cheated?
so what do you?
There was that one. Do you remember that one show? Fuck. I don't even know.
So what would you say though about the backyard wrestling era of our lives?
Underrated.
Yeah, probably underrated in a
Dude,
way.
we had
I just feel like
we had
also
80 people at those shows. We could have had 200. Everybody that missed out, fuck you.
And nobody really experiences that in life for the most part, you know?
No.
Yeah.
It's a very rare sector of people that can say, oh, you know, I used to
You hear
But
about it all the
I
time.
used to
Like,
compete in backyard wrestling shows.
people to this
you know?
day still like send me backyard videos. Like, this was you. Like, yeah, I know it was me. Like, you should have been there live for them. Like, you don't even know, man. I broke my wrist. I got this scar on my chin.
It was good times. I mean, there are definitely times now whenever I look back on things though, and I'm like, the character I started portraying near the end, and like just the things I started being like doing with the character, I'm like, damn, dude, I wish I could do it again, because I feel like I could play the character a lot better
Hey,
than I played the character maybe ever.
we
You
can
know?
find a wrestling ring for sale right now.
yeah,
We can do it. It ain't over. I'm not fucking leaving. I will never retire.
We'll be out there like Flair. We'll be those guys in a field at fucking 60 just suplexing each other.
You should come to our show.
You'll be like, no, man, I'm going on vacation.
We're gonna be like, you ever seen the
That
It's
week.
Always Sunny episode where they do like the bird gimmick for like the tribute to the troops or whatever?
I didn't watch a lot of that show though,
Dude,
but I've heard it's hilarious.
it's pretty funny.
What do you got as far as the good, the bad, and the shits goes? We could literally
Damn.
spend, you know, before. Sorry, and I just asked you that to cut you off. But no, what I was gonna say is, I've literally thought before, one thing we could do that would actually be interesting. Not that we recall, just me and you alone would remember every single little thing about like all the shows, but it would be fun to even do episode by episode, like kind of how they do in 83 weeks or like some of these wrestling shows or whatever.
Rebook GTW.
Or like no, like but review certain shows per episode, like a certain show, or like, you know, talk about this and this that happened and what our memories are and like what, you know, we were going to from this show into the next show into the, you know what I'm saying, and like talk about like what
Like with the backyard show.
yeah like each of them, like each of the big ones that we would do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we would get a
I
whole
wish-
episode of mileage out of it, but it would be fun to like talk through some of the stuff, like the NLW stuff, or the stuff that we did MWF and NLW, or like, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that would be kind of
I
fun.
wish back then we would have like did some like behind the scenes interviews or something. Like that was always my plan too, because I had shit. Even when we wrestled in front of nobody, I had like booked shit like 6 months to a year in advance. I'm like, this Tyler Schmidt and this guy are gonna win the tag team titles in a year, and like I had like
In a
I had like
year.
so I literally booked this shit like a year out in advance, and this is before anybody even came to our shows. This is just when me and Timothy and Cheatham and Harry were wrestling in our backyard, and we were filming it and there was no audience, and I was still just booking shit like there was an audience.
Can you imagine that Cheetah being a part of it?
There's no way we could get him involved in shit like that later on.
That like
he was once
was
a part
like-
of it.
It was hard to believe we even got him to show up to some of those shows, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
I
like,
want to hang out. I want to get drunk with my
Yeah.
friends.
well, I want to come hang out.
I just want to come get high, and then I got hit in the head with a chair.
I remember we had a spot when we were gonna try to throw Nick, like whenever me and Tyler were facing Ethan and Nick, I was gonna like Irish whip Nick fucking into Cheatham, but he didn't. he didn't fucking go hard enough at him. He kind of like slowed down when he got near him, and Cheatham was just like, "Oh fuck no!" He like put his arms up and
he
tried to
safety hugged him.
You should have threw me into him. I would have just right at him.
Yeah, we should have fucked with him out in the crowd more.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna be like, "Fuck you guys!" Listen to this episode.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, Cheatham. I really am. I don't know why we like targeted him multiple times.
It was because he was so resentful of it, and everybody else is so for it that he just is like, "Nah, fuck you. You're the outlier."
Yeah, I feel like even when Cheatham was wrestling with us, he was still like, "Fuck this wrestling shit. I'm not. I'm only doing it because you guys are making me do it."
What do you got as far as the good, the bad, and the shits goes?
I was kind of thinking about it on the way, like, here we sort of brought up having to do it at various jobs, and like, I still have to do it sometimes at my job, as I'm sure you might have to. You know, I don't know, you might have to too, but like, having to train
new employees
at your job. Because, man, there are times where, like, whenever you have a good trainee and they actually make your job, like, a little easier throughout the day, and they, like, you wrap up things a little quicker, you're like, holy fuck. Like, it's, like, such a pleasant surprise of a day. Because most of the time it's just, like, they don't really know what's going on.
It's like you're trying to teach them shit, but you're ending up like having to do everything yourself.
Yeah,
and
they're observing you and asking you questions, which is just slowing you down.
And it's like, yeah, you're not really gonna learn until you do the shit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, at what point do I feel good enough about what I've taught you to do it yourself? And it's like, there's really no good time. Like, you just have to.
I typically am just like, all right, you wanna
you just throw. What I've learned, especially like these last few months, like training people at the bar, you just throw them right into the fucking fire. Like, that's the only way to do it. It really is. Like, and I'm the manager that's like, fuck. Like they told me the other day, like, Corey, you're great. What you're terrible at is delegating. You're terrible at delegating. I'm like, I know. Like, I'm not gonna ask you to do something. I'm just gonna go do it myself. Like, that's just what I'm gonna do. And I learn like by doing shit. And so it's hard for me to like. I will like talk people through the process of doing it while showing them how to do it. But if you're anything like me, like, you're not gonna fucking learn shit until you're doing it, and there's something to tell you where you fucked up and where you didn't fuck up.
Yeah.
It's just like hard for me to. It is honestly. I told you this on the way here. Like, I hate training people because like, I know how to do it, but it's hard for me to explain my, like, I can explain my way of doing things all I want, but you're probably not gonna get it. Like, it's probably not gonna make sense to you until you see me do it and see like how. And that's another thing I tell people. Like, there's no casino. Perfect quote. I love this quote. There's the right way to do things, there's the wrong way to do things, and then there's the way I fucking do things. And that's what it is. That's what it is. I've never been a follow the book guy. I've always been this is how I do things guy. Like, I think that's just like a big general problem in the world now, is like everybody thinks like very, very, very few things are binary in life, I think. Like, people want to, it's as comforting as it is, as easy it is to be able to be like, this is right and this is fucking wrong. It's really, there's a very few topics that are like that binary. Everything else is like, okay, this works better in this situation and that works better in this situation, and you just have to fucking, you know, you might have a plan, but shit's not going to go according to plan. You're going to have to fucking adjust that shit on the fly. And I don't know, I've just never been a by the book guy for that reason. Like, you have to do the certain things. A lot of things are just like, how does this make sense to you? Like, how would you do things? And that's what I like to do, is like bring people in, and when I train them, I'm like, this is how I do it. If you figure out another way, like, do it however works for you. I do it however makes sense to you. And if they do something and I'm like, well, that's clearly wrong, then I'll say something. But if they're doing it in an efficient way still, in their own way, like, do it. That's cool. Like, do your own fucking thing. Get creative. I don't care.
As long as the job's getting done. That's
Yeah.
kind of like why I always hated math in school. Is because there were times
There's only one
where
right
I
answer.
could get the answer, but I couldn't like show all the
Your-
work or
yeah.
do it in the way that they were teaching me to do it.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, no, that's not right. You got to do it in this way. Well, it's like, well, that's not the fucking way I want to do it. That's not the way it makes sense to me. It doesn't fucking register like that.
I still got the right answer.
Yeah, I used to throw a fit about that in like 6th and 7th grade. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what does it matter if I'm getting the answer you're getting? Why do I got to do the steps you're doing?
Because you cheated and looked up the answers online. That's why.
You know, you can say what you want to say. But I do get that. Like, it sucks having to train somebody at a job. Especially because I get comfortable. Like at both my jobs, I basically work in my own space alone. Like I don't like people. I've never at any of my jobs liked people working right next to me or right by me.
Right.
Like, I want to kind of be doing my shit, and I don't want like to have to worry about somebody else right there as well having to also do shit. Like I just want to be in my space,
be in my own zone and be efficient. And
Yeah.
just listen to my fucking podcast or my music and just get shit done.
So as soon as like something disrupts that, where it's like, oh well, I got to train today or I got to show somebody how to do this, it just becomes a whole hassle because it's like,
And it throws off your whole rhythm.
now they got to be in here. Like if it's, you know, even delivering pizzas, the easiest thing. I always hated that one, especially because it's like, these motherfuckers don't need to ride around with me. Like, I get if you want me to train them in store on like how to make dough, how to work cut table, how to do all these things. Like, they are learning nothing about how to fucking drive and take a delivery by being in my goddamn car when I'm trying to chill and watch, like, listen to a podcast and like take my. This is my fucking wind down time at the end of the week. And now I got like
You basically teach them how to drive and
Yeah, it's
No,
like
you don't. You don't even. You teach
they,
them
you
shit.
come up to the porch with me and watch how I hand off the pizza to this person.
Here's my new training. If I was still a pizza delivery, do you know how to make change? That's all you fucking need to know. Grab the pizzas and drop them off and make change. That's all you fucking need.
And I don't, dude. I won't give anybody. If somebody wants change, they're out of fucking luck. I'll give you to the dollar.
That's what I would
the
do.
best I can do.
That's what I do. I would like.
They would have like these bullshit.
If
rules, like,
your order's 19 fucking 37 and you give me $20 and you want change, you can get fucked. It's not happening. I'm not going in and trying to dig up some fucking coins for you.
Yeah. When I first started, like, that's how you did it. But then after, like, a while, and then I just realized, like, fuck these people. I'm gonna do this shit how I want to do it. Oh, you want your 63 cents back? Well, here's a fucking $1. Keep the 37 cents, bitch.
Make them feel bad.
I mean, I wouldn't say that to him, but that's what I thought.
It's like, well, now you're technically getting more money back. I'm losing money by giving you this fucking pizza.
I will gladly lose those 37 cents to not walk back out to my car to grab the 37 cents that I didn't have in my pocket, that I, by the book, should have had in my pocket.
Dude, speaking of just thinking about delivering pizzas now, I had like another funny adventure story a couple weeks ago. I like went to deliver this pizza and they had it was on Metropolitan, you know, like right off the highway, that road that like leads up to Barnhart from Peevely. And it was a house off Metropolitan. They had like 13 cars in their driveway. Like they were
So you delivered like 10
fixing up cars or some shit.
So it wasn't a party.
No, there was just a person that had
down shitty cars.
So I had to park like down the
like
driveway.
Every other place you deliver to in people.
And I'm like walking up here like already bitching because I'm like, can't even park in the fucking driveway. Got all these pieces of shit out here. And I like get up to the door and I knock on the door. It's one of these situations where like I see 2 little kids come to the door, and I hate that shit. Where I'm like,
Oh yeah,
dude, how are you gonna let the little kids get here
Here's
before the parents are gonna get here?
because that's what they always do when they like don't leave a good tip and they feel bad about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Just send my kids to the door with your $2
They'll do that a
tip
lot
on a
too.
$60 order.
Or they just don't even know you're there, and the kids are just answer the door without the parents knowing.
Or when you just get to a door and the dogs are just barking at you for 5 minutes before anybody answers the fucking door.
Yeah, that's another culprit. But like this toddler was like sort of trying to open the door, and they had this big Rottweiler in there, just like did not look friendly, just fucking eyeing me down, not even barking, which is a little scarier. It was just kind of like looking at me like behind the kid, and I'm like, dude, I was like kind of holding the door on the other side because I'm like, I don't want this fucking kid opening the door. This 3-year-old with the fucking Rottweiler right behind it. So I'm like sort of holding the door, and before the mom even got to the door, like I guess the back sliding door was open or something, because I just heard like next to me, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I like just looked over, and that Rottweiler was standing right fucking next to me. It like somehow got from inside the house to right there, and it was still just like looking right at me, and I was just like, hey. We're chilling. And then the mom like answered the door. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, get in here. I was like, how the fuck do you let this happen, dude? You let this fucking dog that clearly is like, make one wrong move and I'll fuck you up. It was basically a junkyard dog. You have all these fucking cars out here. There's just certain stops, and especially, you know, I'm not trying to disparage the area, but Beasley, Imperial, Herculaneum, where you're just like,
Not my favorite
I don't
area.
know about this, dog.
Not my favorite area to deliver pizzas, and I worked at least 3 or 4 different delivery areas. Yeah.
I mean, I know the area like the back of my hand at this point, and like, managers are all cool, like, my coworkers are all pretty cool, so it's just, I'm only there a day a week. I'm not like gonna try to transfer for a day a week. Then I'll have to learn a whole new fucking zone, have my maps open all the time.
Dude, how did people do that shit before GPS? That's nuts.
Yeah.
Andy probably did that shit before GPS.
Yeah.
Wild.
Let's get that map
It took me
out.
like, it probably took me 2 years of working that one delivery area before I like felt confident enough to like literally leave the store and not pull up my GPS before I left the store. Like, if I don't know exactly where this house is, I at least know generally where this house is.
It's like I know the street.
Yeah.
I can get there and
Yeah.
kind of slow
Did you
down.
actually use like a GPS
Yeah,
before?
when I first started, I don't even know if I had a smartphone, but no, I definitely had an actual GPS when I first started. For some reason, still, I don't know if I ever used it. I think I had just an old piece of shit iPhone at the time that was just like gonna break down at any moment. So I just had an actual GPS as my backup system at the time. Like, I hope I don't have to fucking use this. But when I first started driving, I think like Nan and Papa bought me a GPS. I only used it a handful of times, but what a weird time to be alive.
I remember.
And before that, there was when me and Dom first started driving. We used to print out fucking
MapQuest.
Yeah,
bro.
MapQuest directions. Like, we would go to this ROH shows in Collinsville.
Yeah.
And like, we don't know where the fuck Collinsville is. Like,
It was like actual paper directions.
Yeah.
I
literally
think
we
that's
just-
what delivery drivers used to
Yeah.
do, because there's still an option at Pizza Hut
you can
where
print,
when you
can
print
dude.
directions
Yeah.
with the receipt,
Like,
and it'll
you're
tell you
on
like
the order
turn
screen,
left
like,
on
yeah,
this
you're on the
road.
order screen and you click like this address and like you sign out like you're the driver that took that delivery out, and there's an option where you can print out directions. And I worked with so many motherfuckers that would do this.
I know, I
It's
would
like,
work with some
you
people
have
too
an
like that.
iPhone
I'm
in your
like,
hand. Why the
why?
fuck are you
That
doing
seems
this?
like highly dangerous. You're like trying to read a paper. Like, I don't know. It seems.
Everybody used to do it.
I know.
Always.
but
though,
that's
to have to
fucking
figure out where to
crazy.
go.
It's
Yeah.
like the old school movies where,
The
especially in horror movies, as you guys are quite into,
like the old, like you pull out the old fucking map in the middle of the drive, like we're fucking lost, and you just like this, you unfold this map like 12 times. And it's like as big as your fucking
it's like
car.
the size. It's like the map of the U.S.
By the time you look down, the fucking zombies in front of you.
Yeah, every time.
And you run into it.
That's almost as classic as the trope of just like the car that worked completely fine the whole movie, then they need it, and they're like, bah, 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 bah.
And they have to gas.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, it's a full tank of gas. What the fuck?
And they have to gas it.
Yeah.
One time they have to gas it up within 5 seconds. Doesn't work.
What's wrong with it? It was working fine.
That's wild. But see, the speed limit was also less then too, so it was a little less dangerous in ways.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
It was less.
But
I mean, I don't know.
People still didn't abide by it, and I mean, but cars also didn't just pick up speed.
But
the
now,
same way they do
The
now.
speed limit is what it is, but people go 10 over that. So if the speed limit was 10 less then, they would only go 10 over that. They would, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be fucking worse.
And even these days, if you're going 10 over, as long as you're not swerving, you're usually not going to get pulled over.
It's
like,
it's not.
if you're going,
I'll go 55 and a 35 all the time. I probably shouldn't, but you know.
You're gonna hit a kid, dude. I wouldn't be going that quick at a 35. I mean, I get it if it's like a 60.
Okay,
like
I'll
a
go
70,
50
75.
and a 35.
But I also get it because I'm like Hampton.
anything above.
Yeah,
like
no,
Hampton,
I'm
dude.
trying to rush. If
I'll
I'm
go
running
like
late,
50
I just
on
fucking.
If you're anywhere and the speed limit's under 40, it's probably only that low because a kid could just run out in front of you at any fucking time.
Well, there's too many spots that are little bitchy 35s or less for no reason.
Dude, there's spots in Peevely. That's another thing I hate about delivering
But
people.
that's
It's like
Peevely, too.
25-mile-an-hour roads. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? And they'll pull you over for it in Peevely.
Dude,
yeah.
it's yeah.
You know,
When it's in a school zone,
It
yeah, they'll
feels
run around.
like 30 feels like fucking 10 so
But you're
often.
in
It's
a
like, what the
car
fuck
just
are we doing?
creeping. Yeah.
Go!
Active, especially if you're directly behind somebody going 30, you're like, this is fucking ridiculous.
You know what it is? It's just like if the speed limit's 40, what the fuck are you going 30 for?
Dude, if I get caught behind somebody going 30 on my ride to or
Never.
from work, I'm like, you gotta fucking get over, dude.
Never thought I would like think that. I thought I was gonna be like,
Oh,
oh,
it's
I'm
so
gonna
ridiculous.
drive like a little bitch.
The stresses of driving are just like a whole new thing. Like,
But like,
I do not miss it whatsoever.
It's
I
so-
fucking hate driving.
I don't
it's
mind
so
it.
ridiculous. Like I don't know. There's little things that just annoy the fuck out of me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, man,
I mean,
fucking
I'm
go!
glad I have the option to, though. You know, I like
Yeah.
most of the time I'm glad, like, completely fine. Just once I get back to my domain, just chilling, doing my thing. But like, I'm glad I have the option to be able to just be like, oh, I want to kind of hit here really quick, you know.
It's funny though in retrospect because most of the time you're like, go! You're only saving yourself like 2 to 5 minutes.
No, but like
anywhere.
Especially with the
Anywhere.
stoplights. You're like, they're probably that person
No,
probably
I
cuts
would
back up
much
to you.
rather take an alternative route that's gonna like add 5 minutes to my time than just sit there at a dead fucking stop or a
Yeah.
slow ass moving traffic.
Oh no, and I get really mad.
I
whenever
would
it-
take an alternative route and cost myself time to just not be sitting still, or just not be going that slow.
I get really
it's-
mad whenever it's just
Makes
like
you antsy.
you think you're making good time, but because there's so many people on the road, it's adding minutes every time you stop at the red light. You're like, what the fuck? Let's go!
Yeah.
It's just, I don't
Dude,
know.
that was
Too
me
much.
whenever we went to the concert this week and we didn't get out of the fucking parking lot. After it ended,
Oh,
I was a dumbass and didn't take off work.
That's why your
we-
brother and Adam fucking rush out of
Oh
there
yeah,
after
it was smart.
after the fucking
But we
concert.
did not get out of there till fucking like 12:30, dude. I was like,
What time did it end?
probably
11.
2 hours before that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
we literally sat in the lot and didn't move for like almost 50 minutes. I like
Where was it at? Where
the
was it?
amphitheater. But they had nobody directing traffic after the concert. It was sold out, and everybody was leaving from one lot. So it was just like a fucking disaster. And I was like trying so hard to not
Dude, if you live,
be like, I am so fucked, and
If
like
you
ruin
live-
everybody's experience. But I was just like, you guys keep chilling, doing your thing. I'm gonna try to fucking go to sleep over here. I was like trying to sleep in the car in the parking lot.
if you live that close to a venue like that, or like Busch Stadium or anything, it's worth it alone just to take an Uber, just to not sit through that traffic or not to find parking. Like,
Oh yeah, well, because
it's-
parking's
the
sometimes just
stress
$40.
alone, yeah, you take the money out of it. Just the
Well, the
stress alone.
amphitheater's free. That's
It's
how
worth
they pull it
whatever
in.
the fuck you pay for a Lyft or for an Uber every time. Like I've been to a handful of Blues and Cardinals games last year. Just Ubered every time. It's so much easier. Just like, unless you're leaving in the 7th inning, you're gonna sit in traffic for a good 30 minutes at least.
Yeah.
And fuck that.
Yeah, it's pretty much always the case unless you rush out of there or leave, a little bit early, which I don't typically mind doing. Like if I go to a wrestling show and they have like a match that's aired just for the crowd after
Like a dark match.
after
Which
the
they don't
show
really do. They
ends.
used to do that all the time. They don't do that much anymore.
They do
usually
that
have
with
the
like
dark match
Raws and
before the show.
SmackDown sometimes.
Yeah, but it's mostly before the show now.
And I'll be like, okay, now's probably about
You're
the time
out.
to try to beat it. See, I'll do that too with like sports games. If it's like, especially if the game doesn't look like it's super close and it's like getting near the end of it, I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's like like you said, a weeknight, you got to work tomorrow. Like even if we come back from 5 fucking runs, it's like halfway through the MLB season.
Because I don't ever want to experience that again. Like not having work taken off. Just
Sitting in
having to
traffic
go
for
back,
2
go into
fucking hours.
work, fucking
And then driving
3 hours.
30 minutes home.
after laying down. I'm just like, this is, dude, I'm getting too old to be fucking trying to do this shit, man. I don't want to be trying to go into work on 3 hours of sleep.
Did you you said so training coworkers was yours?
Yeah, just like having to be a trainer at a job.
I mean,
I don't feel
especially
like
if you're,
anybody likes it.
especially
I
if
mean,
you're like
it's
upper management, it's some degree or another, it's necessary because you've got to train the new people that come in. But I wouldn't exactly say it's a fun thing to do. You know,
No.
It's definitely the shits as far as like doing it. It sucks.
yeah,
but
I
you
wouldn't,
have
but
to
I
do
wouldn't,
it.
but I wouldn't say it's overrated by any means.
yeah, no, because that would indicate that people
Because if
Love
you're,
it.
if you're an employee that your higher ups want, like, feel like you're good enough to train new employees, like they want the new employees to come in and know the way you do things because they trust the way you do things. But it's also just a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it
would
just
say-
is.
I would say it's fair because it's necessary, but it is a pain in the dick for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I've never
In
ever
summarization.
enjoyed training employees, but like
But I'm at
if
the point now where
you get incompetent or competent rather like coworkers around you that make your job easier,
oh yeah.
it makes work just so much less stressful. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, I know that it's not gonna be a revolving door if you can get a good staff around there. So it's worthwhile you have to do it, but it's never like
It's
a
never
day
a fun
you
thing.
look forward to.
No.
And they're like, hey, you're gonna have a trainer with you today. You're like, okay.
I don't know what it is too about that. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna stick down with you today," and there's always, no matter what, there's always like a fuck.
Well, it's just gonna slow you down. It's
Yeah.
And you know you just automatically have to be like Mr. Social all day then and be
Yeah.
trying to show them shit. It's like, fuck, dude, I did not like prepare myself for having to fucking do this today.
No, you expected just an everyday, like just a regular day. All right, I'm gonna get in and do my shit, take care of business. You don't expect the extra baggage, for lack of better words.
Nope.
So, you got a topic?
I'd come up with one.
Well,
So
if
it's
you want to
up
throw
to
something,
you.
yeah, I was gonna say, if
You
you want to
don't
throw one
have
out
to.
there,
It's up
at this
to you.
point, we would, it'd probably be the last one, you think?
Yeah, it's getting pretty late on
Yeah.
us. Jesus. It's getting a lot later than I thought.
If you want
it
to throw
was.
anything out there, anything, sports, wrestling, movies, food, life experience.
Should we take one last break before I think on it?
No, I don't care.
You want to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We'll be right
I think we're gonna do a good stopping point.
Alrighty, we are back on the air. What is your final topic of the evening?
Oh, it's my turn to do the good, bad, and the shits?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
The
Alright.
good, the bad, and the filthy shits. You know this segment, by the way, was inspired off of Bret Hart. Bret
He's
Hart.
the shits.
Yeah, it's the shits.
It's
It's
the
the
shits.
shits. Yeah, that.
WCW was the shits.
He's like, well, sure, there's an Owen Hart DVD out there.
Bill Goldberg, the shit of all shits.
But it's the shits.
Fuck. So what I'm gonna bring up is something we already talked about a little bit earlier off air. I was just trying to think of something, that's been controversial the last few months, which I barely keep up with the fucking news or much of anything in pop culture. However, the Drake and Kendrick beef, and if you want to throw J. Cole in there as well, which I definitely would because he's the modern day GOAT, along with, it's not modern day anymore, but Barry Bonds, of course. What do you think about I think this has made rap music more popular than it's been in 10 years. What do we think
Yeah,
about?
I mean,
what do we think about all this?
I feel like just hip hop music though has been one of the most popular genres for the past 10 years in general. Anyways,
Hip hop for sure.
I would say even
But
15 years it's been extraordinarily
like
popular.
a lot of rappers have gotten over in
yeah,
pop
and there's
culture.
but you said hip hop. I think there's a big difference between hip hop and rap. Maybe not a big difference, but a difference.
But I would almost put Drake more within hip hop. He's kind of
Yeah.
like pop.
Well,
he's not really rap.
He's
Most
definitely
of the time.
more poppy than rap, but I think he doesn't get honestly, I've never been a Drake hater. I don't think he gets enough credit for his raps. And people can say all day he has ghostwriters, but how the fuck are we ever going to prove who has ghostwriters and who doesn't have ghostwriters?
I don't think you do. I think it's just some people can say forever.
Yeah.
As
Well,
like a way to just kind of
I think
disparage.
there's certain people you listen to, like Kendrick or J. Cole, where you're like, okay, that shit seems too real to
Yeah.
not be from them.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I'm not saying that that's not possible if that's the case, but it also is like, it's kind of hard to believe when you have all these talented individuals and rappers and lyricists and stuff that one of the, if not the most famous pop culture wise modern one is one that uses ghostwriters for everything. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it's one of the, it's definitely Drake. However, I've always been a Drake fan. Don't think he's a bad rapper. I don't think he's as good as Kendrick or J. Cole, rap wise.
No.
But he kind of is like the modern day Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He really is. Like he's got he's the only one I think that has the Billboard hits to even come close to Michael Jackson in our era. And again, I don't think he's the best rapper. Like I think his like when he first started coming up, like he was a pretty damn good rapper. But then over the years, he's kind of done a few other like mixed in a few other genres. Like he made that whole one album that was basically just like a house music album.
Yeah.
He did he spent a lot of time like collabing with younger artists that he's like helped make a name for. I don't know. I think he just gets a lot of hate and a lot of. I honestly don't think he gets enough credit for how good of a rapper he is. Like, do I think he's as good as Kendrick or J. Cole? No, I don't. But I think he's a better rapper than most people give him credit for. Personal opinion.
Yeah. I've always kind of liked some Drake songs too. I've never been like a big Drake fan or a big Drake hater, but I'm never like I can vibe and enjoy a Drake song.
Yeah.
I'm never like when he comes on like, oh fuck. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I'm not too like strongly opinionated him on one way or another. I know he seems like one of those rappers, or just because he is so popular though, where people do feel very strongly about him one way or another a lot of the time.
Right.
Like Brendan for a while. Fuck Drake.
Brendan hates a lot of
I was almost asking
Drake's
which
a
side
bitch.
was he on. I was like, Brendan sounds like he would be an anti-Drake guy for sure, which I get, because I like to be anti-popular things quite often. I like to be the contrarian.
Yeah, but Brendan's thing all the time was like for some reason, the people that he didn't like, he would take it to a place of like, I could kick their ass. It's like, why is that any measure on if you're a fan of them or not anyways, for one? And for two, half these people, no you couldn't.
No, you most of these people you could.
The Rock was one. Remember that?
Yeah.
He's like, fuck The Rock. I
no.
he's like, The Rock. He's like, The Rock ruined this, and he ruined that.
There's 3 people you never talk shit on: The Rock, Barry Bonds, and Kanye West.
that's year 3. That's the trio that's just gonna start a full-on debate with you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So is the beef overrated, underrated, or fair? Is that what you're asking?
I just think the whole the way it's played out, just the way how popular it's gotten, the way everybody's just, I just feel like rap, like hip hop has been the most popular genre of music over the last
10 to 15
years for sure.
Yeah.
But rap specifically and rappers, I feel like have not been this popular that whole time. Like this is the most like rap was talked about since like probably the Drake and Meek Mill beef, which I think. I just think these guys are having like I just think they're having fun. They know they're the greatest, and they're just like, all right, we'll talk some shit about each other. We're still like respect each other, but we're just doing it for publicity, and we're just like, let's see how good we can fucking be. Let's like talk some shit, and let's just like see how big we can get this thing. And it got pretty fucking big.
I don't know though. Like
some of this shit's
Kendrick
pretty
was
brutal.
torching the fuck out of him.
Yeah, some of the shit's pretty brutal for it to be like.
So are some of the wrestling segments and promos.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but they're not. But they're not personal. They're about
They are.
characters.
No, they are.
They're about characters.
Yeah, it's about a character though. It isn't
Is
like.
it?
Yeah.
But also, I guess
You don't hear anybody
Drake's
say
not Aubrey.
You don't
either.
you don't see anybody saying Terry Bollea's a piece of shit. You hear people
you-
say
you
Hulk
don't-
Hogan's a
You
piece
don't
of
hear
shit.
that. You don't hear them reference their
If
real,
you hear them.
don't
I'm not-
hear them
I'm not taking
reference their
shots at
real
Hogan.
names. You don't hear them reference their real names in wrestling. But how many wrestling segments do they make personal aside from the character, like your wife, your kids? It's the same thing you do in the rap beat.
But it's something that only wrestling fans would know is a personal shot. It's not anything that's like. It's not anything that anybody else outside of the people that know the inners of the business would really understand. In my opinion.
I can see what you mean because it's a little bit different than just going on a track that you're gonna release and millions of people are probably gonna listen to, where you're just like, "Hey, motherfucker, you're a pedophile." You know what
But
I mean?
that doesn't sound. If it was, I don't think Drake would be like, yeah, go ahead, call me a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, he probably wouldn't.
That seems like a pretty fucking dense accusation.
If we were all rappers and like we constructed this rap beef, I would definitely not be okay with you accusing me of being a pedophile. However, for years people have like said that about Drake, like when he like
that's
grooming,
been,
like grooming younger
texting,
women kind of thing.
texting Billie Eilish or whatever
But,
when she
like,
was 17.
And Millie Bobby Brown, I
Yeah.
think, was another. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, fuck. At this point, people think this anyway, so fuck it. Just say it in your rap. I don't care. Like, you're not gonna change. These people that think I'm a pedophile aren't gonna change their fucking mind. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's gonna make all the shit worse, even.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was, regardless. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it was good. I think it was good for rap either way. I don't think.
Oh, it definitely got everything spotlighted again for sure.
Again, I think everything's a fucking work. So I don't think anything's like this hostile. Like maybe there's a little bit of something there, but I think they all were originally like, we're clearly the best 3 rappers of the last 20 years. Let's make something out of this. Let's get this shit going again. I think that's what they did. I don't care who, like, I've asked people for the last couple years, like, who, like, the best 2 rappers of the last, our lifetime, pretty much, are fucking J. Cole and Kendrick. They just are. And if you prefer one of those to the other, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think those are the best 2. I don't think there's a wrong answer either way. I think Kendrick's a better storyteller in his raps. But there's something about the way J. Cole, like, does his flows and, like, his own unique style that I just, like, I don't know. I don't know, I just like it more. So I would say J. Cole. And his My Delete Later mixtape that he released, like, a couple months ago had a diss track against Kendrick on it that he took off of streaming called 7 Minute Drill. And people were like, oh, Kendrick won the whole beef with Not Like Us, which was definitely better than any Drake songs for sure, and probably better than even not as a diss track, but just as a song in general was the best song. J. Cole's fucking diss on Kendrick was good, and people were like making the WWE videos like on the game of like them fighting each other, and it was like there was one like triple threat match I saw. It was like J. Cole, Kendrick, and then Drake, and then the bell rings and J. Cole just gets out of the ring and like runs away, which is like what everybody thought, is like he made one of the first diss tracks, and then was like, I said my shit, but it doesn't sit right with me. So he took he's like, I'm cool with Kendrick, like I said what I said, but now it feels bad. So he took it back. He took it off streaming. But I thought it was fucking great. It's not on streaming anymore. You can still find it on YouTube. But I thought that was great. But then after that, it was just J. Cole kind of like went out of the picture. And it was, now it's just has been Drake and Kendrick going back and forth.
He didn't want the smoke from Kendrick.
And I think Kendrick
definitely
definitely,
was just
Kendrick
he had
definitely
fire
had the
in
best
his
song.
eyes, just pissed.
Definitely Not Like Us was the best song between Drake and
Meet the
Kendrick.
Grams wasn't too bad either.
No, it wasn't. But J. Cole's like, maybe last album's coming out soon, and I don't think this is over with. I think J. Cole's still my current GOAT, and I think he's going to come back with something still. I think he is.
So you think like of just this modern like generation of rappers, or like all time? You think J. Cole's the best?
He's my GOAT of like since I've been alive, for sure.
That's still a pretty bold statement, because there's been some
Yeah.
big names through the 90s and 2000s even.
Especially the last like 15 years.
Yeah.
But and like I've never really dug into a lot of stuff like before my time. Like I know who like the obvious big ones are, but I've never dug in like super deep. So I can really speak on like shit that's coming out over, since I've been listening to rap, which is really only like the last 15 years. Because before we grew up with a lot of the alternative and heavy rock shit, and I didn't really start getting super into rap until 2014, 2015. And that's when J. Cole, like right after he released Forest Hills Drive.
Mm.
Yeah.
I remember you listened to like one of the earliest ones was there. We listened to You listened to the Blueprint 3.
Well,
Jay-Z's.
that was like late. I think that was like
it was like 09, yeah.
Well, I was like Jay-Z.
And that was like my first, that was, I mean, obviously before then, we listened to like a lot of Eminem and different stuff.
When J. Cole was
that.
like Jay-Z's protege, basically. Like,
yeah.
Big Sean was kind of like Kanye's, and then J. Cole was kind of like Jay-Z's.
Well, no shitting on Big Sean, but I don't feel like he's a J. Cole.
No.
By any means.
But for a while,
if you have a song where you just say ass 65 times in a row.
Honestly, when he first like got big with those hits, like I Don't Fuck With You and like the ass, like I hated him. Back in the day, I hated him. And then like I started listening to his full albums, and I was like, this guy's actually pretty fucking good. His just hits aren't as good as people think they are.
A lot of them got over big time.
I'm also the guy that like enjoys some of the hits, but I'm like, all right, that's just a hit. That was just created for the radio.
Just
like,
trying to get
what is this guy?
Well,
what is this guy?
Big
really
Sean
about?
had a lot of stuff that came out and it was big in like clubs and shit like that.
Yeah,
too.
that was his
And
thing.
that's the shit I didn't like. Whenever that's all I knew from him, I was like, this guy's like okay, but he's not that good. And then I would like once I dug into like all of his albums and like listened to all of them, I was like, okay, I actually really like this guy now. Like I always enjoy the deeper cuts more than the hits. Like you're putting a hit out just like, and it might be good, but it's just a hit. Like you made it just for it to be a hit. Like it didn't mean anything to you. It doesn't like there's no story in the song. There's no like real feelings in the song. It's just you made a hit to make a hit, and that's fine. That's great. But like what I really like is when I dig into the deeper songs that nobody else knows. Like what is this guy really fucking about? And that's the shit that like makes me really connect with an artist.
Yeah.
Especially around that time, like on our trip to Florida, I would think I was playing like I had that J. Cole album, that whole J. Cole album, and that Big Sean album all on the playlist. Like that was probably half the shit we heard the whole time there. But yeah.
Yeah, it was at one of the albums had like I think you had like a Jerry Seinfeld skit before.
Oh,
like,
that was
each song.
Wale.
Yeah, I remember
Wale
that
has
one.
like 2 mixtapes that are like Seinfeld inspired in them, but that was his first like a studio album that he released. It was called The Album About Nothing. So definitely Seinfeld inspired.
Wale Mania.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know if that was a thing. I don't know
I
if
think
it's
it
still a
still
thing.
is, yeah.
But yeah, huge wrestling fan. Honestly, really underrated rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same like Pusha T. I always felt like Pusha T
Yeah.
didn't really get a lot of talk.
He also
but I always thought he was
sang
pretty
most
good.
songs. He also rapped mostly about cocaine and selling
Yeah,
cocaine.
yeah, he rapped a
Push it
lot.
on,
He
push it
rapped
on
a
ya.
lot about dope. So I felt like that was. But I mean, so did Future, and Future got over.
Future raps about that's all he raps about is getting fucked up on every drug.
Yeah. But I mean, he didn't get a lot of radio
Future
play
put out a
either.
lot of music though.
Dude, that's the
Oh
thing.
my
That's the
god,
thing
dude,
with
Future
Future.
put out like 4 albums a year
He
for a
put
while.
back-to-back albums out. Let's say like the year like right around the time right before you fucking got hit by that car, he put out those albums back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
The gold and the silver one.
He put out a
And they're-
lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like once it got to the streaming, the point of streaming, it was like all these artists that just keep making music. Like you might make 20
Like, fuck it, I
shitty.
can throw
You
this
might
out
make
there.
20 shitty songs, but you make one good song and it pops. Like even your shitty songs are gonna get plays
Yeah.
after that, and that's what he does. He just pumps out.
Some
shit.
of them I hear them back though, and I'm like, oh damn, that was pretty good. That was, there's like
Yeah,
a few
some-
that are each.
I feel like he's a rapper to me. Like a lot of his songs kind of grow on me the more I hear him.
Yeah.
Like whenever
Mhm.
I first listen to a Future album, I'm like, I mean, it's the same old shit, man. But then like when I start listening to it more, I'm like,
He's
some of
definitely
these are pretty damn.
he's definitely not
good.
somebody that I can listen to every day.
No, I can't.
But
just
every
listen
once
to
in
it
a while,
all
a
the
Future
time.
song just fucking slaps.
Yeah.
so hard.
Even if it's something from like before that finally kind of pops on you.
Especially
like, oh,
especially when he was like taking shots at like Russell Wilson or Sierra.
Oh my god.
Those are my favorite.
He's just petty and angry and
Yeah. I love that shit.
yeah. And that's probably what led to more of his drug depressions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was the Drake and Kendrick beef just in general.
Yeah.
I would say it's fair because, like you said, it did bring a lot more attention
yeah.
to the rap.
Even if you hate,
game. And I didn't really give that much of a fuck about the actual beef, but
even if you hated one of those two guys, which most people are gonna hate Drake more than they hate Kendrick, you still listen to all those fucking Drake songs.
I don't hate either
You
one of them,
fucking
but I
did.
did.
You fucking know you did.
I did listen to pretty much every song they had. But yeah, I would probably say it's fair too. I mean, it made a lot of people pay attention that weren't really paying attention before, and like, there's no denying that it got everybody talking again, which is why sometimes it's hard to say things aren't at work whenever they're like, well, it got people talking,
Yeah.
got more people talking than it had in years, you know.
yeah.
Well, that's all it's about now with
But
any song.
I
that's put
don't
out.
necessarily think that they're in cahoots behind the scenes. Oh, I'll call you a pedophile, then you call me, blah, blah, that kind of thing or whatever. But I think it's understood that this is good for
Oh yeah.
the business
Yeah.
if they're
Yeah.
kind of fucking or
Like,
back and
It's
forth.
undeniably helped all of them.
As
Yeah.
long as somebody's not a dumbass and takes it so far they go shoot somebody.
But if
else.
Drake's so successful, why would he fucking need this to boost
and not
him,
even
you
Drake
know?
or Kendrick, but
Because-
fans.
You can always stay relevant. Because if you don't make a song, you're not going to stay relevant.
But Kendrick would need it a little more than Drake would because he's put out significantly less music the last 10 years than Drake has.
Yeah, but that's Kendrick's thing. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't put out a lot of music, but
Kendrick's
the shit he puts
supposed to
out.
matter
Yeah,
when he
the
puts
shit
out
he puts
music.
out is.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of J. Cole's disses in that song they took off was like, he said something about like 2 albums in 7 years. That's all you got. But like again, Kendrick shit. You can tell it's like well thought out. Like each album has a story. Each album has a theme.
Yeah.
Each like he tells stories very well. And
It's
Kendrick
like
and
the
J. Cole
album
does too.
is a story.
But
technically.
Kendrick tells stories the best of any rapper of our generation by far.
I thought you used to say J. Cole.
He
did.
does too. He does too.
Yeah.
He tells pretty good stories, but more than that, I like the way just the
Kendrick's a very unique
They both are.
sounding rapper.
They both are. But Kendrick's like unique in like the voices he does and like the stories he tells and the way he just the storytelling in his raps just generally. And
Mhm.
J. Cole tells good stories, but more like the thing that draws me to J. Cole more is just the way he flows his raps is like uniquely.
I feel
It's
like
like-
he's got more
it's
like,
like-
transparency
It's
in
like
his
he
storytelling.
rhyme. It's like rapping is rhyming, or it started out as rhyming, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was like there was one way to rhyme, and then Eminem started doing his way of rhyming, and then now it's like other rappers try to do their own different way of rhyming and rapping, and it's just like sometimes you could tell they're trying to do something different to stand out, but it's just not good. But J. Cole, like the way he flows and the way he like rhymes shit in a different pattern than everybody else, is what really draws me to him. It's hard to explain, but if you just listen to enough of his music, you can just tell like the way he puts certain flow patterns and rhymes together. They don't like rap like traditional rap. It's just like he found a new way to do it. I don't know. That's just what draws me to him more than anything else. It's like I don't know. He stands out to me more than anybody else. And I could listen to his shit in any mood. In any mood.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not many artists I feel that way about. Even artists I love, there's times where I'm like, on my shuffle, I'm like, I ain't feeling this.
Well, there's times when you're just in a shitty mood. You're like, I need music to get in a better mood, but also I know if I listen to this song, that's just gonna piss me off
Yeah.
more. So I don't want to listen to that.
I'm not feeling this vibe right now.
Yeah. I don't know, I think there's for any mood that I wake like one of the first things I do every day when I wake up is just put on music. Like that just kickstarts my day. And I don't know, I feel like mostly every day I can find some J. Cole song to like make my day better. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Connects with you.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. That's what I kind of like about artists and art in general, like even movies and books and things like that, is like different things appeal to everybody. Like there's so many different genres and different artists within each of those genres
yeah.
of music.
Well, especially
And
now when everything's
everybody's
crossed
different
up.
fans of different people and different things, you know? Like, some people will hear a certain artist and be like, I don't fucking get it at all. And it's like somebody that everybody else loves,
Well,
but
there's
then
some-
they like some shit that
There's some
nobody's heard
songs
of.
that just sit in my library for years before I even listen to them, and then I'll like, it's just I don't know. I'll just be banging some song one day, and then I just won't hit the next button, and the next song will play, and I'll hear it out for a few seconds, and it'll like, I've had this song for 2 years, and it's finally just resonating with me. Like I don't know, it's weird,
Music.
timeless.
Yeah. It literally is, yeah. More so than almost any other kind of entertainment. You can hear a song from the 30s that still like resonates today, you know.
Art is how we
Makes sense.
decorate space. Music is how we decorate time.
Yeah.
I can hear like almost every song and just remember where I first heard that song at, or like remember who I was with when I first heard that song, or like something relating to my life and that song.
Oh, there's some times where songs will like just take me to a certain summer within
You'll
like
remember-
junior
you're like,
high or something,
dude,
and I'll just like punch me in the nostalgia gut.
I will
I'm like,
literally
gotta-
like hear a song and just remember a certain smell around the same time that I first started hearing that. Like it all comes back to me, like all the senses from the time I heard that song. Like I remember the smell in the air at that era in my life. Like I remember the feelings, like the people I was around in that era of my life. Like it's wild. Like nothing besides music will give me that same feeling.
No.
It just takes me immediately back to a certain space and time.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
I'll have
time and space.
with like movies and stuff too, but it does feel like you get hit with nostalgia hard with like just certain songs.
Yeah.
If it was like a big part of a vacation or just like a childhood memory of some sort,
Right.
it's just you'll never really forget that. It'll always just hit different.
There'll be times where like I'll play songs at work, and like for specific people, I'll be like, check out this song. I'll like be begging them to check out this song, and they'll just be like, I don't fucking. They'll be like, yeah, this song's good, but they won't fuck with the song. And there'll be times where like I show somebody a song and like not even remember it, and then like a year later, like Corey, remember where you're at when you showed me this song and what we were doing? Like, no, but I'm glad that you do because that's fucking dope. Like. It's a lot easier, and you guys were just talking about this with Andy on, I think, his last episode from what I listened to earlier. It's a lot easier. The fuck was the quote? I don't know. I just drew a blank. I was on to something good and I drew a blank. That means we're winding down, I guess. That means we're winding down.
You said something interesting, though, is what I will say is, like, it's nice to, like, whenever you can't remember stuff or you think that you're like, oh, okay, well, this is as far back as my memory goes. It's nice whenever somebody reminds you of something that, like, you don't remember happened until they bring it up, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. This was
You're
what I
like,
said.
that was, like, that's...
You remember things.
You're untapping something that...
The chances of you remembering something are significantly better when you are emotionally connected to it in any way.
It's great whenever somebody else recalls it too, because if they could vividly paint a picture for you, you're able to derive that memory and pull it out of the memory bank and be like, oh fuck, it's like that is something I would have completely forgotten about if you had not brought it up.
Yeah, that's already happened a few times tonight with shit you guys have brought up. I'm like, holy fuck,
and
that did happen.
It's fun because everybody doesn't remember the same things the same way, but whenever everybody that you grew to make those memories with connects the dots of the pieces, like you're able to distinctify and decipher all the different memories that you created,
Yeah.
But I think we answered that one.
Yeah.
And I think we're winding down here.
Definitely that.
We definitely have
This shit flew by.
we have definitely made the most out of our June 10th 5-year anniversary episode, I would say, as we could have with the time we were allotted.
I don't even know how much time we've went, but I feel like I have not said hardly anything, and we've been here forever.
We're currently on
I feel like
minute 337,
Oh,
going
wow.
on 38.
I feel like I left a lot of
Damn.
things on the table.
Well,
that's,
you'll be
and
back.
that's not a bad thing, is
No,
it?
it's not bad. It was still your first appearance, even
Wow.
though it was the
It's
first
always
appearance.
nice to have more things to talk about.
Like I said, I
you know?
built this up for so long, and I knew, like, again, not to say that I think my episode's gonna be some fucking huge draw or anything, but I know there's been people wondering, like, when the fuck is your brother gonna be on the podcast?
Oh, yeah.
And I know that this is at least my third offer to be on the podcast, and I've declined the last two. But again, I've just built this shit up in my head for so long, where, like, I gotta go in there, I gotta tell my whole life story. Obviously, I've went through a lot of shit the last few years. Like,
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot, like,
It's a lot of pressure to
for the longest time, like, I gotta go in there, I gotta tell my whole life story, I gotta be
Yeah.
perfect, I gotta fine tune every detail, and then, like, the last, I don't know. I don't know. I just, like, when you text me the other day, I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's just get it going.
once you see the way it flows,
Let's just come in here and we'll say what we say, and then we'll leave room for next time. And
Yeah.
we left a lot of room for next time.
once you see like the way it flows and operates, like it's easier to see like, oh, okay, this is how it goes, and we could kind of go from here, from that point on. Like, you know what I mean? Like you already made your entrance.
We
like, now
laid
you
we
can-
laid the groundwork.
Yeah,
Exactly. And we tapped into some things we could definitely get a little deeper on.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the thing, you know what I mean? It's what I was gonna say is it's almost way too much pressure to put everything into one encapsulation rather than just
Right.
kind of plant the seeds for the
When you give up on that,
for the
when
early
you give
part of
on
it.
that, when you give up on that fucking need for perfection
Mhm.
that you're never gonna reach.
Because who's to
It's-
say if you're like I'm gonna encapsulate everything in one? Who's to say if that would take 3 hours,
Right.
4 hours,
Yeah.
we could be 5.5 hours in,
And we could say
and
it
you
for-
still be like, fuck, I haven't gotten everything I want out.
or I didn't say it the way I really needed to say it.
Whereas,
I didn't really paint the
you
picture
can-
that I wanted to paint.
Exactly, where you can make your kind of entrance with your first episode and then kind of gradually get to where you want to be with telling the story you want to tell
Yeah.
through the next episode,
Right.
you know, and so forth. But, goddamn, I mean, this has been our longest episode since I don't even know how long.
Which is wild because
This is definitely this is definitely our longest episode of the year so far, and this is actually so you know how I said 5s and multiple by 5s. This is the 5-year anniversary. You were on episode 5. You're the 50th guest. It's on June 10th, and this is the 20th episode of 2024. Those are all multiples of 5s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even remember the last time.
And
A
it
lot
really,
of
it really
numerology
doesn't
going
feel like
on
that
there.
long, and I still feel like I've barely said anything all night. Like
It's because we spent a dense
That's how
amount of
it
time on
always
a lot of
goes,
different
too.
things. But I will say it's fun because as far as baseball goes, I don't remember the last time we tapped that much into baseball, if ever. We've never
I
gotten.
could do a whole nother 3 hours on Barry Bonds.
We talked a little bit of football.
If I hear
more
his
and
name
shit.
one more fucking time.
We had never talked as much backyard wrestling as we have tonight,
Yeah.
at least in one go.
And when we get to that clip for the audience, like there's gonna be a certain percentage of your audience that's gonna be like, oh, I was there. I would love to hear this. There's gonna be people who are like, I fucking tuned into Corey to talk about his backyard wrestling shit. The
Yeah.
fuck?
They can digest it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Hey, not everybody.
That's what
grew
these
up in
episodes are
WWF
for. They're
attitude era.
long episodes, you know? They're long form conversation.
Yeah.
For sure.
You don't gotta listen to the whole thing at one
Well, that's
time.
what's great about the video now.
Just-
We can trim this shit down. And
Just ask
Yeah.
anybody that's
that was
listening.
actually one of my things. I didn't want to be on here until we had video, and then I found out we were doing video, and then I was kind of like, "Fuck, did I really want this video?" And now I'm on video, and I guess it's too late to change my mind, huh?
Yeah. It's too late.
Yeah,
It happened now.
it's definitely late.
But
It is late.
any closing final thoughts you want to give the audience before
Hold
we
on, hold
officially wrap our 5-year anniversary episode?
I might have some notes in my phone. Might have some notes. How much time we got? I'm kidding. I think I already dropped one of these quotes earlier. I don't remember what about, but yeah. I don't know. You guys got anything else before I say my closing line?
No?
No?
Give it to us.
I mean, it's nothing super profound. It's super simple, super easy. It was like that little, like, somebody hit the mic and we heard that little, like, tone, and then now it just, like, set the moment. And now I feel like anything I'm saying is not going to be good enough.
Sorry, I gotta find a way to soup this line up.
Yeah, no, I already know the line. I knew the line. Now I just feel like it's built up way too much.
Everybody's got a final word, you know?
Life's amazing. Life's shitty. Life's beautiful. Life sucks. This is all just shit I just came up with just now. Every day is not going to be great. You're going to go through hard times. You're going to go through heat spots. You're going to go through your shine. You're going to hit your finishing move. You're going to win some matches. You're going to lose some matches. Just keep fucking going. Just keep fucking going. Stay strong. Stay hungry. Stay true. Stay you. Mic drop.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our 5-year anniversary episode. clocking out at the longest episode of the year thus far. We'll see if we can top that, but in due time.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. Just thanks everybody for sticking with us for 5 years. It's wild to think that we're this far into the journey, but we are. So hopefully we got 5 more in us. We'll be back for the 10-year anniversary before you know it with how quick life's going by.
No doubt. Thank you everybody for always tuning in. Thank you for everybody that has supported, shared an episode, listened to an episode, watched us at Comic-Con. Everything that we've done up to this point, you are appreciated. And we'll see you on the next one as always. And keep listening, keep supporting. We will keep making content for you beautiful people. And we hope you have the most fantastic week in the week ahead. Take care of yourselves. Next time.